Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is 7 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on this Thursday, the 13th day of July. So glad you're with us here for today's edition of The Drive. We're going to drive you home. We're going to drive home a few salient points. And the extra added bonus of it all is that on occasion we drive the liberals completely crazy. It's just an extra added bonus thing we throw into the mix for you. All right, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Our top story has to do with White House cocaine. Well, or maybe we will not get any answers. It seems to be the case. Today there was a briefing up on Capitol Hill where the Secret Service came over and the FBI folks came over and gave a briefing to lawmakers on the House side. And those emerging from this closed-door briefing in the Sensitive Compartmented Information Facility, known as a SCIF, came out and said, you know what? They're going to finish up their report tomorrow, and they don't know nothing. They don't know whose cocaine it is.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
That's right. The worldwide resources of the Secret Service, the worldwide resources of the FBI, all of the top minds and labs have looked at this thing, and they can't, and despite the fact we're in the most secure building in the United States, which is the White House, nobody seems to be able to pin out exactly who left a bag or bags of cocaine inside a West Wing cubby hole. Yeah. Do they not assign? I mean, look, when I go to a thing and I have to turn in and put stuff in a cubby hole, and I've done this before in Washington. Notably, it used to happen every time I'd go over to the State Department to meet with the Secretary of State. You would hand your stuff over, and they would give you a little number, a little tag, or a receipt that said, yeah, yours is in cubby hole number 3. Can they not trace that stuff? Can they not figure that stuff? You're talking about a White House that has more cameras pointed in more different directions. There were cameras apparently right on this particular area where the cocaine was left in the cubby hole, and we are told that gave them nothing. No DNA, no fingerprints, nothing. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And you know who else is not buying it? The Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy.
If they can't tell us first where the cocaine was even located, they gave us 3 different locations. You know this location, right by a Situation Room. Very few people get to go around there. But if they can't tell us who brought it, what else is happening in the White House they can't tell us about? What else is coming into the White House they can't tell me about? That even concerns me more now, because the discussions we have in that building, the places that are situations that are being discussed and actually decided upon in that building, people are walking in with cocaine, putting in cubby holes, and you turn around to the American public and say, you don't know when you have all the security in the world? That is a concern that I have greatly. When the Hunter Biden laptop came public, what did the Biden Inc. family do? They used soon-to-be our Secretary of State to go out, call people who have been CIA directors, call people all in the intel community to sign a letter to tell the American public it was false, right, when they personally knew it was true. So it just shows when it comes to the Biden Inc. family, they are treated different than every other American family. Think about this. If you've done something wrong on your taxes, the IRS comes after you. If you're part of the Biden family, they wait 6 years so the statute of limitation goes away, and you can take money from Ukraine. You can take money from China, and you won't be found guilty. America is tired of this 2-tier system of justice, but it always seems to fall when it comes to the Bidens. They get special treatment, even down to using Department of Justice, using our Intel Committee, to pretty much lie to Americans. Americans need to know that their White House is safe and secure. You can't turn the other cheek and simply say, oh, now we don't know where it is when we have dogs, we have cameras, we're supposed to protect the president 24/7, and we can't tell you?
You see, McCarthy is doing a brilliant thing there, by the way. This is a brilliant response. he's taking this incident, which I think you if you look at what the Secret Service is peddling here, it's just almost impossible to believe, and he's adding it into the things where there is a different standard, it seems, for the Biden White House or for the Biden family. Yeah, can you imagine them giving it a cursory 2 or 3 day investigation if the person in the White House was Donald Trump? No, you would never. It would never end in 3 or 4 days. It would never end in a week. And they would come up with something. Let's just talk about security at the White House. Anybody who, that goes through the Northwest Gate, where I used to go through the White House on a regular basis, understands that your briefcase is going to be looked at. They're going to open up your laptop and make sure that it works. They're not going to really look at what's in it, but they're going to make sure that it's an operational thing. And they're going to run you through all kinds of stuff. And, there's any time you want at the White House, 24/7, you can call the dogs in. You can call the dogs in. And I mean, we never, we never went anywhere with the President of the United States without having everything that we had with us in the press corps being sniffed at by bomb sniffing, and one assumes drug sniffing dogs. I mean, so, that part of it we know. And then you've got the uniformed Secret Service. You've got a camera system that is supposed to be second to none in the world. For monitoring every hallway, every nook, every cranny. You can't move through that White House complex without being seen by cameras. And it just baffles the imagination that they can't figure out where the cocaine came from. And then, the response, if you deign to ask a question about this, and there are legitimate reasons. We can all agree there are legitimate reasons to ask these questions, given the history of a certain member of the Biden family who still visits the White House and I guess on most occasions lives there. That it's not out of left field to ask that question. What we end up with is a whole lot of nothing. From thehill.com, the Secret Service is ending its investigation into the discovery of cocaine at the White House after failing to identify a suspect. Lawmakers briefed on the matter disclosed, and the Secret Service confirmed on Thursday. Emerging from a closed-door briefing in the Capitol's SCIF, lawmakers said the probe will officially end tomorrow. The Secret Service is ending its investigation tomorrow, said Marjorie Taylor Greene. Basically, they told us the investigation will be over. They don't know who it is, said Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee. Greene said the Secret Service was able to narrow down a list of approximately 500 potential suspects, but would not detail who was included because it was classified. Well, of course it is. Only saying that the list included quite a mix of people. The Secret Service briefed the Oversight and Accountability Committee on the investigation after Chairman James Comer sent a letter Friday to Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle requesting a staff-level briefing on the matter. The cocaine found July 2nd. Days later, the Secret Service confirmed it was, in fact, the drug. It was found in a lobby area in the West Wing, off the West Executive Avenue entrance, in an area where individuals deposit electronics and personal items prior to entering the White House complex. The Secret Service told the Hill. Greene said it was left in a cubby in the lobby area. Lauren Boebert said Secret Service told lawmakers that 0.007 grams of cocaine was found. Lawmakers briefed on the matter said the Secret Service does not have a timeline of when the cocaine was left in the White House. Could have been that day, could have been that week before, could have been months before, according to some. The lab results were given to the Secret Service on Wednesday. There were no fingerprints and no sufficient DNA. No sufficient DNA for investigative comparison, so they couldn't compare evidence against the known pool of individuals. There was no surveillance of video footage that could provide a link. Can you imagine? I will say this. If they came up with a DNA sample and they said, well, now we got to figure out whose DNA it is, and you got 500 people, you got to line them all up and do a swab. I mean, what are you going to do? And boy, it would be quite a mix. I can tell you, it would be quite a mix of people coming through that particular gate. Now, was this a tourist coming through on some kind of VIP tour of the White House complex? That Democrats give for Democrats? Yeah, maybe. It's not part of the regular tour, I can tell you that for sure. Or is it? Could it have been a general coming over from the from the Pentagon? Could it have been somebody from Homeland Security coming in for a briefing? Could have been a dozen high-ranking officials who come in and out of that door, Secretary of State level on down, who use that door to come in and out of the White House complex. Could it have been a staffer? I mean, there's just no telling who it was, and I can imagine without a good DNA sample, it'd be difficult to track down. But does anybody truly believe that the worldwide resources of the Secret Service, a very capable organization, that the worldwide resources of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, that the Capitol Hill uniformed Secret Service police force, and with drug-sniffing dogs and high-tech cameras everywhere, do you truly believe that they after a very short investigation, go, oh, gosh, we can't figure it out. Oh, well, surprise, surprise, surprise. We don't know who the cocaine...
Surprise!
We don't know who that cocaine belongs to. Again, compare and contrast, and imagine for just a moment, and it's a little game we like to play. Can you imagine this thing being over in a week with them going, we don't know. Hey, we ain't got no idea. We got no theory here. Just somehow cocaine made its way into the White House. Oops, we don't know. Can you imagine that happening if Trump were the president? Can you imagine it being left and done and walked away with inside of a week? I don't think that you can. See, so this is it's found on the 2nd. This is the 13th. So what, 11 days? Huh. A lot of different stories, but there is this one other thing that sort of caught my eye from justthenews.com. Lauren Boebert apparently told some reporters that the Secret Service has discovered drugs at the White House 3 times since 2022. 3 times. 2 other times since last year in the building. The Colorado lawmaker confirmed the Secret Service said the agency likely won't find a suspect in connection with the cocaine discovery. 500 people, blah, 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 blah. But they have found drugs in the White House 2 other times within the last year. 20 minutes now past the hour, 3 o'clock. Listen, buying a diamond, if you're not properly educated, is a difficult thing. If you're not careful, you can overpay, and you can overpay big time. Small variations in a diamond's quality specs can make a huge difference when it comes down to deciding what the value is. And that's why I always recommend going to Genesis Diamonds. Genesis Diamond Education is second to none. They will teach you the secrets of the industry. They will explain how diamonds are priced on the world market. Their non-commissioned experts will make you a savvy buyer, even if you decide to shop somewhere else. These days, this is so important, especially if you're considering buying a lab-grown diamond. Let Genesis reveal the truth behind the recent trend and show you all the info on how lab-growns are being overpriced in so many different places. Don't spend too much. Bottom line, Genesis is your source for the best information as well as the best value for both natural and lab-grown diamonds. Now, whether you're buying a diamond for the first time or upgrading to a large, rare, investment-grade diamond, Genesis will make sure you do not make a mistake. Genesis Diamonds, where the focus is always on honesty, transparency, education, quality, and value. Don't buy a diamond until you learn the ins and outs from Genesis. 2 locations, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
The White House concluding the investigation into who brought cocaine into the West Wing with no results drawn. 3 people in custody on charges connected to the murder of a Tennessee woman, and some breaking news out of Hollywood. Those stories and more coming up 30 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy, reaching around to grab important stuff right off the printer. That's what I was doing. Yeah, okay.
Need to move it a little closer.
Yeah, maybe I need to move the printer a little closer to where the microphone is. Listen to this. House GOP is about to drop a massive report alleging that Biden's chief of Department of Homeland Security has broken the law. And a member of our Tennessee delegation is very much involved in this investigation. So let me run through this real quick. House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green, good friend of this program, is set to release a lengthy report detailing his initial findings of his probe into the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas that details ways that he believes he broke the law, according to Green talking to the Daily Caller News Foundation in an exclusive interview. Green launched a probe into Mayorkas on June 14th, with the initial phase focusing on the DHS Secretary's alleged dereliction of duty. Green says that more than 100 pages of findings from the first phase of his ongoing probe will be released within the next couple of weeks. Should be good bedside reading. The list of everything that we've learned so far in phase 1, the dereliction of duty phase, will be published here very shortly. I'm proofing the final document, which is like 111 pages. But laws have been violated. In some cases, we believe Mayorkas has broken the law himself. Green cited several instances where he believes Mayorkas has committed intentional and willful dereliction of duty, referring to DHS use of the Border Patrol, one phone application that allows tens of thousands of migrants to enter the country each month through ports of entry at the southern border. He also believes Mayorkas lied to Congress when he asserted that DHS had operational control. Yeah, like really. Nobody believed that one. That was a howler. Well, I mean, Mark Green's doing good work here, and he just puts his nose to the grindstone and gets it done. We'll endeavor to get Mark Green on this program and sort of bring us up to speed as we get closer to the release of this information. But again, he is the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee up on Capitol Hill, and apparently they're about to go after Mayorkas in a big way. There was going to be testimony today. I need to follow up on this from a former Immigration and Customs Enforcement official testifying that Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas' goal is to implement policies that ultimately limit immigration enforcement. It seems that's not. You want to enforce immigration, not limit the enforcement of immigration. Completely different kind of thing. We'll get you up to speed on that. And then there's this. Remember, who's really supposed in the administration? Who's really supposed to be the border czar? Supposed to be the person out there digging around on the border. Well, that'd be, of course, the vice president of these United States, Kamala Harris. She has big things on her. I mean, forget the national security and the crisis at the border. She's putting out Twitter messages that say, we have a real inequity in this country. It must be addressed. The inequity of airplane restrooms. Okay, the majority of domestic flights do not have accessible restrooms. This is absolutely unacceptable, says Kamala Harris. Our administration will soon announce a solution to help end this inequity. They're all, what are you talking about? Of all the things people are talking about in the world today, some kind of issue about equity on airplane bathrooms is not, I don't think it's not the burning issue of our time. And she said, but that's what she's focused on right now, ladies and gentlemen. Forget the border, forget all the other stuff. Your vice president is on the job to make sure that there is bathroom equity on airplanes, whatever that means. 30 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk.
"30 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 92 degrees in Nashville and a chance for some storms here later on tonight. Traffic and weather coming up in 5 minutes. The Secret Service says they don't know who's responsible for the cocaine found earlier this month at the White House. They've now closed their investigation. Members of the House Oversight Committee got a closed-door briefing today. They say the Secret Service narrowed it down to 500 potential suspects, made up of White House staff and visitors. Investigators say, quote, there was no surveillance video found that provided any leads. Republican Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett found that hard to believe.
I mean, I'm sure they have facial identification and everything else. And to say that they don't know who it is, to me, somebody should lose their job over this.
He called this, quote, the most ridiculous thing he has seen in his life, end quote. Here in Tennessee, 3 people are in custody on charges related to the murder of a 22-year-old Murfreesboro woman. Maya Fuller went missing in July of last year, and her remains were found in a wooded area about a week later in Wilson County. Sheriff Robert Ryan told a news conference today the arrest came after tireless work on behalf of several law enforcement agencies, including Metro Nashville Police.
The family deserves closure, and we will continue to do everything within our power to make sure that justice prevails in this case.
Sheriff Ryan asked that anyone who has information about the case to call it in, but he said they have the 3 people responsible. Fuller's mother and father were at the press conference, but did not speak. And over in Hollywood, it's about to be pretty quiet with a second strike on the way. Here's Jason Nathanson.
The writer's strike, which has been going on for over 2 months, has shut down most of Hollywood TV production, but some shows with completed scripts have been filming, mostly in Canada and some other areas outside of Los Angeles. Elaine Lowe's with the industry news site The Ankler.
There aren't very many productions that are active right now, and that'll basically bring it to zero for scripted TV.
The actor strike will also halt all film production. Some movies have been filming overseas during the writer's strike, and no one knows how long the shutdown will last.
And that is the latest news, weather, and traffic next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Let me talk about my friends over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Here's the number, 615-246-5009. You got to start with a phone call. But this is a place that can help you if you are in pain. Do you have pain in your arms, your legs, your neck, your back? Well, there's a thing called non-surgical spinal decompression that can help, and they are experts at it. And they can help you with that. I can tell you, I've gone through 24 treatments. It really did help me. And now Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley Mitchell are offering a first-of-its-kind KT machine. It's like spinal decompression, but it's the same kind of concept aimed at your knee. It elongates the knee gently and allows meniscus or cartilage to heal without the need for surgery or painkillers. You should take advantage of their 2023 special if you're a new patient. You get an exam, a consultation, x-rays if needed. You can bring in an MRI report to go over with the doc. Dr. Mitchell will then give you your condition, describe for you what needs to be done, and give you a custom healing plan that will be discounted by 50%. And here's how you get started. You just call that number, 615-246-5009. Your first consult is $23, and that's, again, only for new patients. Again, it's 615-246-5009. Learn about all the things they can do to help you at the Wellness Institute of Nashville by going to their website, painisbad.com. "38 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. Brian Wilson in the chair. We got Mac Morey in the newsroom. We got Chris Weber in the control room pushing all the blinky buttons. And I am in the chair in bucolic Watertown, bringing you news and information that you can use. But occasionally, we like to just, to sort of entertain you as well. And so it is with that in mind that we revive one of my favorite segments that we do from time to time called Deep Thoughts with Kamala Harris. Today, the vice president describes, well, this is sort of interesting. She's lacking of intelligence on her own right, but she's going to try to explain to you, the American people, what artificial intelligence is.
And I think the first part of this issue that should be articulated is AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means,
Wait, it's 2 letters? AI is 2 letters? Wow, I'm learning something already. Here we go.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning.
Okay.
And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process.
That is Kamala Harris, Vice President of these United States, attempting to explain artificial intelligence. Did you get that all? I mean, first thing it's a fancy thing. AI is, but it's just 2 letters.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters.
Wonder what those letters are. Oh yeah, that would be A and I. Well, anyway, she never fails to charm us with her kindergarten explanations of things in the news. And apparently she's concerned very much about AI, and as we told you in the last segment, apparently is outraged about some kind of problems that she foresees as the real thing that Americans care about, which is equity on airline bathrooms. I don't understand what's going on here, but one way or the other. Well, and she says, look, at the end of it, she tries to sort of explain that, you have to teach the machines. You have to give them input to draw from and information to draw from. And this comes into our topic today from the Associated Press. Associated Press said Thursday it had reached a deal with ChatGPT, maker OpenAI, to license AP's archive of news stories in order to help train the artificial intelligence company's systems. You see, one of the problems with AI right now is they give it a database to work with. And you say, well, I want you to write me about something that's going on in the news today. And they say, and it'll come back and say, well, it's outside the parameters of the information that we have trained it with. But the one thing that you need access to is real-time information about what has happened in the world within a certain period of time. And Associated Press is now saying that they will, this may save the wire companies. It ultimately, at the end of the day, could save the wire companies as, like UP, Reuters, and Associated Press cut deals with these artificial intelligence companies that are manufacturing the software to give them information to teach their machines what they need to know to do the sometimes fantastical, sometimes completely disastrous things that artificial intelligence can do. So there is that. The wire services, really honestly, they have really been on the downslide for a lot of years. Associated Press is still, say what you will, they don't always get it right, and there is always bias you got to be on the lookout for with Associated Press. But they're pretty much, as these things go, a meat and potatoes organization when it comes to reporting who, what, when, where, and why. So there is that. But you also heard the vice president say that that sometimes these things come up with decisions or opinions or the work product from ChatGPT, which we played with here on this program. It is amazing at times. The Federal Trade Commission is now investigating ChatGPT to understand if the company has violated consumer protection laws. This is pretty good. Comes from the Washington Post. Published the FTC's 20-page civil investigative demand that's similar to a subpoena, outlining key focuses of the probe. A source familiar to the matter confirmed the authenticity of the document to CNBC, and the FTC has declined to comment. The FTC says in the document that the probe will focus on whether OpenAI or ChatGPT has engaged in unfair or deceptive privacy or data security practices, or engaged in unfair or deceptive practices relating to risk of harm to consumers, including reputational harm, in a violation of Section 5 of the FTC Act. Now, what apparently happens from time to time, I have played around with ChatGPT. I mean, like we did one thing. Chris, what was it? We asked it, write us a 500-word essay on some aspect of the Civil War.
Civil War, yeah.
And it cranked it out in like 10 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, wow, that's impressive. And you look at it, and, if I turned that in a college class, that probably would get me a B or B plus, maybe an A minus. I don't know. It was pretty good. And what is amazing is it spits it out in like 10 seconds. Well, we've asked it to tell us jokes, to make it tell a joke about an aardvark, which was one of the most
I came up with one of those. Yeah,
we came up with those, and we've played with all of it. But I have also heard from other people. For example, I have a reporter friend who said, write me a report on everything you know about me. And because this person had been a reporter for some time and in the public eye, there was a fair amount of information out there. And it came up with stuff that was completely wrong.
Wow.
I mean, way wrong. And so, a lot of people have said, well, that's the weakness of the thing, is you just can't guarantee the accuracy of the thing. So the question is, do somehow people use this technology to produce a product that somehow gets published that has, information that is reputationally damaging to the individual and wrong? It's one thing to be reputationally damaging, but it's another thing if the reputational damaging is completely wrong. And so now apparently this whole next level of thing that's going to happen is that the Federal Trade Commission is going to be looking very closely at artificial intelligence to see if indeed they are making those kinds of really, really bad mistakes. So there is that. Here's another version of the story from the Wall Street Journal. ChatGPT comes under investigation by Federal Trade Commission, investigating whether it has harmed people by publishing false information about them, posing a potential legal threat to the popular app that can generate eerily human-like content using artificial intelligence. You know what? When we played with it, and we actually interviewed it sort of as a guest, but we asked it questions and it would answer. And one of the things that just shocked me was it would remember the previous question. It would say, well, and like you asked a moment ago, and it'll give you some analysis about that. But it really is anything that you deal with that has to do with computers. It's GIGO. It's always GIGO.
GIGO?
Garbage in, GIGO. Garbage in, garbage out.
Ah.
See. Yeah.
I hadn't heard that
those
one.
and those people in our IT department think I don't know anything about computers. No, GIGO. The information that you get out of anything is always, dependent upon how good the information that you put in, the data that it is drawing from. If a ChatGPT has got bogus data or bad information, or it somehow uses its artificial intellect to put together facts that really should not be put together, and it comes up with boneheaded stuff, that as we get in the opening days of what we call artificial intelligence, that seems to be the case from time to time. Can it do things that are amazing? Wow, yeah, it can. I mean, it's astonishing how good it is. I mean, you honestly feel at times as if you are talking to another human being, but what you're doing is you're just simply talking to a piece of software. It can put together different thoughts. It can make, I do it occasionally just to say, what are the different ways of looking at this particular issue? Now, I never just completely copy from it, but I do think, well, it's an interesting way to challenge my thinking on it, because here's my thinking on it. How might is there another way to look at this particular issue? It just opens up your mind sometimes on a difficult question. And you have to be smart enough to know when to throw it away. That's the thing. Here's another little AI story that I found today. I thought pretty interesting. Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX and owner of Twitter, on Wednesday announced the debut of a new artificial intelligence company called xAI, with the goal to try to understand the true nature of the universe. According to the company's website, Musk said and his team will share more information in a live Twitter Spaces chat on Friday. Team members behind xAI are the alumni of DeepMind, OpenAI, Google Research, Microsoft Research, Twitter, and Tesla, and have worked on projects including DeepMind's, several different things that they worked on. Musk seems to be positioning xAI to compete with companies like OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic, which are the leading chatbots. See, he actually was provided money with some of the original research that gave us what we have now in the world of artificial intelligence. He walked away from it and now is starting over and has hired some really, really talented people to do it and maybe look at it a little bit differently. But artificial intelligence, it will be it will be an amazing thing. It will be the bane of our existence to some degree as we go forward. And I think that everybody needs to understand that as remarkable as this tool is, we have to stop at times and say, yeah, but how reliable is it? Absolutely reliable is it? And how do we determine which things that this artificial intelligence tells us are accurate and which stuff turns out to be bogus? Because if it's bogus and they put it out there and it hurts somebody's somebody's reputation, then you are talking about the potential of lawsuits. So, still cutting edge stuff. FTC now investigating Elon Musk entering the game again. 50 minutes now, past the hour of 3 o'clock. All I'm going to tell you about Everseal. What is it, first of all? Well, it's a sealant that can be applied to concrete and wood that will make it last a long time. I mean, that's the real bottom line on it. It's technology that's actually been around for ages, was used in industrial settings, and the folks over at Everseal have figured out a way to provide this same kind of permanent solution for sealing your exterior wood and concrete at a price that home and business owners can actually afford. First, they come out and they do a deep cleaning, power washing of your wood, your concrete, try to make it look as good as it could possibly look. And then they add their patented sealant, which will absorb all the way to become a permanent part of your wood and concrete and will prevent any further deterioration for the next 30 to 50 years. 30 to 50 years. Wow, that's something, isn't it? It's got a 25-year warranty. So, listen, this sounds like something you'd like to investigate. And I can't imagine why you wouldn't, because you could save a lot of money over time. I mean, how much money do you spend to seal your deck every year? How about doing it once and not have to think about it again for 30 years? Wouldn't that be something? Well, if it sounds like something you want to investigate, reach out to Steve Nelson and the team over at Everseal, 844-EVER-USA. That's 1-844-EVER-USA. Or you can learn more by going to their website, ever-seal.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. There was a recent study by J.D. Power looking at how happy investors were with their advisors, and it wasn't pretty. What they found was only 11% of the respondents said that they were getting comprehensive financial planning, that the fees were clear, and that they felt that the advisor was acting in their best interest. Not a good picture, 11%. Now, one of the things that we do is we do comprehensive planning. We fit all of those bills, number one. But one of the things I want to talk about is in the financial planning process, what I think it ought to look like and what is available that people aren't getting. And one of the things is called probability analysis. So in essence, this is what we're talking about. We're trying to accumulate money for retirement. Put money aside, hoping that we'll have enough so that we can have income throughout retirement. And what we find is that people have Social Security, they have pensions in their financial plan, and they also have investments. Now, with their investments, we want to do something very specific that it really requires quite an academic background to do this. And this is where we look at the cost of capital of the various things that you own in your investment portfolio. It sounds scary, it sounds really detailed, but here's the idea. Is if we look at various asset classes like large stocks and small stocks and large value and bonds and so on and so forth, we know the expected return or the cost that these entities have to pay to use your money. So we can come up with an expected return of the portfolio. We can also come up with what's called standard deviation, or how much that portfolio return may deviate from the expected return. Now that's a whole other video, but what I want to do is show you how we use this. If I look at a financial plan and I say, well, you got this area, this area, this area, what I can do is I can say, well, based on when you want to retire, this is how much income you can take, and here's the likelihood of being able to have this income survive throughout your entire life. And the way it works is this. If I take a portfolio and I say, there's the expected return, I can look at history and say, well, the way your portfolio is designed, how might your one-year returns vary from the expected return, the long-term expected return? Well, what we know from academic research is that portfolios well designed and properly managed in ways that I can't get into right now, it's too complicated. Portfolios actually close in an expected return, but we don't know what the short-term returns are going to be. So what we do is we project out and say, well, what if the return that happened in 1936 is followed by the return that happened in 1975, which is followed by the return in 1995, or what if it's reversed? What if they happen in different orders? And we can do 1,000 iterations, different variations on when those and how those returns may come in. And what that does is, because we can't predict the future, what return's going to follow the other, we can figure out, is it likely that we are going to be able to take the income that we need throughout retirement from this portfolio? And if not, how can we rearrange the furniture or the portfolio to give us a higher likelihood of success? And we look at life expectancies, we look at a lot of different things, but this is what is available to people that they're not getting from the financial planning community. If you want to know more, go to paulwinkler.com, set up a free 15-minute phone call, paulwinkler.com, and come in and find out more about what we do.
The Secret Service ending their investigation into who brought cocaine inside of the White House. 2 jail escapees back in custody. Charges for a man who killed a Tennessee police officer in a crash. And the data from a crazy Amazon Prime Day. That and more coming up at 4 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, let's take a look real quick at the markets and see how things are looking. Dow Jones Industrials were up 47 points today. S&P up 37. NASDAQ up 219. That's about 1.6% roughly. That's how they ended the day. Again, all screens are green based on some of the soft inflation data that came in yesterday. The market's liking that news. Brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Learn more about all the things they can do for you at Beacon Capital Management by going to their website, askbeaconnow.com. It is 58 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Well, if you're in the market for a pole barn, the 2 brothers that run Stoltzco are the 2 guys that you need to talk with. Exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and very fair prices. They can build your new pole barn to your specifications with your needs in mind, and that is always the Stoltzco difference. You can use pole barns for all kinds of things. It can function as a classic tool and work barn, a garage, even a place to live. Flexibility is the key. They combine the post-frame barn look with the reliability of modern materials and techniques to give you a finished barn that will stand the test of time. They don't scrimp on quality. They do not cut corners. They believe their customers deserve only the best. So you should just go to their website. When you go to this website, you're going to be shocked, stunned, and amazed at some of the things that you'll see there. It's not your granddaddy's pole barn, I'll tell you that for sure. Just go to stoltzco.com, that's stoltzco.com, or call this number, 615-622-5992. That's 615-622-5992. I think you're going to be quite impressed by what you see at stoltzco.com.
4 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 91 degrees. We've got some thunderstorms possible tonight. Got a complete weather and traffic report coming up in 5 minutes. Right now, the Secret Service says they don't know who's responsible for the cocaine that was found earlier this month at the White House. They've closed their investigation, and members of the House Oversight Committee got a closed-door briefing today. They say the Secret Service narrowed it down to 500 potential suspects made up of White House staff and visitors. Republican Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett finds it hard to believe.
The most ridiculous thing, I mean, it's indicative of this entire administration, though. I mean, nobody gets to the bottom of anything. They just laugh at Congress. They laugh at the American people and the Secret Service.
He went on to say that, quote, somebody should lose their job over this, end quote. In Linden, Tennessee, Channel 4 reports that 2 inmates who escaped the Perry County Jail on Monday of this week have now been put back in custody. Jeremy Christie and Jamie Henson were able to dig a hole in the fence and escape. A deputy was able to chase Christie down, but Henson was found on a river in a stolen kayak 2 days later. The sheriff said that he wants this to help push the county towards a funding of a project that would use inmate labor to build a 10-foot wall with razor wire on top around the facility. Here in Middle Tennessee, the owner of an illegal at-home daycare is facing 6 felony child endangerment charges. And Jordan sobbed as one of her clients testified about the day he and another parent arrived to pick up their babies who had been alone for over an hour.
I saw the crying baby in the high chair. There was another baby in a bouncy seat in the living room. There were 2 other babies under 1 year lying under an activity gym, awake in the living room. I then went and checked every bedroom and bathroom for the caregiver, including the nap room where my eldest daughter was sleeping, and another female was in there sleeping as well.
Detectives testified that Jordan left the apartment to harm herself over the death of the baby. Right now in Tennessee, News 2 reports that Clark Austin Daniel has now been charged in the December death of a Murray County deputy during a crash. The deputy, Brad Miller, was working traffic detail in a work zone when a Chevy Tahoe hit him from behind. One nearby police officer tried to administer CPR, but Miller didn't make it. Daniel was released on a $50,000 bond and has a court date set for August 3rd. And data is in from Amazon Prime Day, and all online shopping consumers spent around $13 billion over the 2 days, according to new data that just came in. Alex Stone.
It wasn't only Amazon. Its Prime Days prompted many other big retailers to offer sales. Adobe Analytics says on Wednesday, sales were driven by appliances, housekeeping supplies, electronics, and clothing. Interestingly, curbside pickup were offered accounted for 20% of online orders, showing the staying power that consumers like driving up, having the items retrieved for them and brought to their car. Smartphones accounted for 45% of online sales compared to 42% last year.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hour number 2 of the drive. Oh, man, it's just whipping right along here today on this Thursday, the 13th day of July. Still pretty warmish outside. Are we still looking for severe thunderstorms? I haven't looked at my radar here, but last I saw,
possible. Yeah,
it's possible, but I think it's going to be later, right? I think that's the general sense. One way or the other. When you're in the kind of the humidity that we're in and the kind of temperatures we're talking about, it's always possible you'll get one of those unpredictable convective thunderstorms.
Yeah, it looks
And
like
so
we
you
may
just-
hold off until later tonight.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's what I saw earlier. So, to be weather aware as you might want to get home and bring in the cushions.
Just in case.
I mean, just in case. Well, now apparently in my backyard, bringing in the cushions is a much bigger project. And, we have to apparently spend, it takes several, it's not just go out and grab, 3 or 4 cushions and bring them inside. It's you've got to,
Multiple trips.
yeah, there's lots of cushions.
Yeah. I guess that's
Yeah.
a good problem to have.
That's as you say, a quality problem, isn't it? Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about some money news, if I could, please, and talk about economies. And again, I think that we here in Middle Tennessee are completely blessed that we have a pretty strong economy, and I think that is very much related to the fact that we have conservative governance by and large in the state. As you know, supermajorities of conservatives in the House and Senate, and they do everything they can to keep the balances looking good and having a surplus and a rainy day fund and all of that kind of stuff. But also, I think in providing sort of an environment where you can have a very successful business climate. And again, another piece of information is crossing our doorway here that suggests that Tennessee's doing a lot better than a lot of other states. Are you ready? From CNBC, 10 states that are running America's best economies for residents. And I'm going to go through some. We might want to get a little drum roll going here. I don't know if that's worth it or not, but here we go. The number 10 is. It's hard to believe, Delaware. No, we're going to have to talk about each one. So you can relax the drum there. Delaware is number 10. GDP growth 2.1%, job growth 2.5%. It's got a AAA stable rating from Moody's, and so they're there now. The Delaware now, okay. Let's look at, Delaware is, by the way, not a real economy. You know what happens? You ever hear somebody say, we're a Delaware corporation? Well, basically, you know what that means is you can have your company anywhere you want to, as long as you have an office in Delaware and you say, well, officially our corporation resides here. And it's a scam is what they do in Delaware, is that they get all these companies to come in and invest and put these offices in Delaware and to pay a sort of a tax and saying, well, they're a Delaware corporation, when really they might, 99% of the corporation is probably someplace else. Number 9, Indiana. While the Hoosier state's economy is a barn burner, it offers stability. There's nothing wrong with a little just boring stability, right? Home prices appreciating about 10% per year. They're still some of the most affordable in the nation. The GDP growth, 1.9%, job growth, 2.6%. All right, so that's number 9. Number 8 is Idaho. Led by the Gem State's surging real estate and IT sectors, Idaho's economy was the fastest growing in the nation last year. I didn't know that. Fastest growing in the nation. Job growth was among the best as well. Idaho's many new residents fleeing for more expensive states like California. See, if you're on the West Coast and you don't want to move all the way to Florida, or you don't want to move to Texas or Tennessee, Idaho, it's not that far, really, honestly. Beautiful country, I understand. But anyway, let's see. Economy score, 252 out of 360. Job growth, 3%. GDP growth, 4.9%. Well, that is an economy that's on fire, pretty much, wouldn't you say? All right. Number 7. South Carolina. The Palmetto State is a popular place to start a business, with nearly 96,000 startups in 2021. South Carolina ranked in the top 10 per capita. The state ranked third for housing price appreciation last year. But it has I did not know this, no S&P 500 companies headquartered in the state. That seems unsurprising. Job growth, 2.4%. GDP growth, 2.4%. Job growth, 3.1%. So people are taking advantage of South Carolina. Number six, it's the Beehive State. You know it as. Right, Chris? You know what the Beehive State is, don't you?
I don't.
Utah. The Beehive State's.
That.
And listen to how they played off of this. The Beehive State's economy just keeps buzzing.
Oh, boy.
State finances are nearly as good as they get, according to CNBC's analysis of state financial stuff. Credit ratings top-notch. Job growth continues as Utah's tech economy and its mining sector. You don't think tech and mining, that's Utah, apparently. Job growth, 3.1%. GDP growth is 2.7%. And now, number five. The great state of Tennessee. Yay! Hey, let's have a little, celebratory music there. Little clap. There we go. We're number 5, and we work harder. The volunteer state is another growth story. The nation's second fastest growing economy last year, led by durable goods manufacturing. Though activity began to level off as the year went on, Tennessee attracting plenty of new jobs, and state finances, as we have aforementioned, are strong. So the GDP growth in 2022, 4.3%. Job growth is 4.1%. That's very healthy. That's very healthy. So let's just go through the last 4 of them here. Because I'm going to tell you 5 on a list like this. We're talking about all 50 states. To make the top 10 is pretty good. To make the top 5, I think, is incredible. But number 4, Georgia, the home of household names such as Home Depot, Delta Airlines, and Coca-Cola. Their GDP growth was 2.8%. Job growth, 3.4%. Number 3, North Carolina. The Tar Heel State is leaps and bounds ahead of its competition as it continues to add companies, people, and jobs. GDP growth, 3.2%. Job growth, 3.4%. We're getting down to the very in numbers. He turns the pages. Number two, the Lone Star State of Texas added nearly 630,000 jobs last year. Wow. Think about that. The 4.8% jump in non-farm payrolls was among the best in the nation. GDP growth, 3.4%. Job growth, listen, it's nearly 5%. Job growth of nearly 5% is pretty astonishing. And I think we all see the last one coming. If you haven't heard this state by now, you're probably surprised. Number one, the state of Florida. Sunshine State's economy white hot. Overall growth is among the strongest in the nation, with the job market to match as workers flood into the state. Florida's housing market, which is notoriously prone to booms and busts, is well balanced for the time being. Price appreciation is the fastest in the nation, around 15%. Construction activity strong. So, GDP growth, 4%. Job growth, nearly 5%, 4.9. So there you have, a really remarkable, look at where the states that are doing. And was there anything that you noticed? It wasn't completely, but a lot of these are southern states. A lot of these states are managed by conservative supermajorities in the state legislature or from the governorships. And so there you have that. It seems as if we're winning, as people are moving to the places where they most align with it. But here's the thing that I keep coming back up with is it doesn't. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with the Electoral College in the coming election, as blue states become bluer and red states become redder. I need to spend some time thinking about that, running some numbers to see exactly how that's all going to play out. There is this story, though, that I found in the Tennessee Star, which I thought was pretty interesting. Less than 20% of Americans want electric cars. I think we've talked about this a lot. A lot of us are sort of intrigued with the idea of electric cars. But at the end of the day, is it really the thing that meets our need? Have electric cars reached the point where they're going to be widely accepted by most people instead of, their gas car? And that's interesting. Only 19% of Americans are interested in purchasing an electric vehicle. But Tennessee has invested nearly $1 billion on the Ford electric vehicle plant. Ford will spend $5.6 billion to build what they call Blue Oval City and batteries. And they say that steel is now erected. I remember that I was there when the governor made this announcement. I was in the room when he made the announcement. And it is a big deal to have Ford come and build a big plant in the state of Tennessee. But the real question is, are they going to, how far are these car companies going to go in building these massively expensive plants, shutting down other, factories where they build cars that are powered by gasoline, and invest and push people toward electric cars if there is no consumer demand for the electric cars? That is the thing. 20% of Americans say, well, 19%. I think it's a feather in our cap that Ford decided to come to Tennessee because they see the same thing we were just talking about. A great environment, an opportunity to do something in a great growing state with a good conservative economy and a good business climate. I understand all that, but the downside is, how far will they go in continuing to invest in Blue Oval City? Will they go to the full construction build-out as we get closer and closer to the point where they're going to have to run the numbers to find out exactly how many people actually want electric cars? I mean, you can build it, but if the product that you build in these factories is not something that the public is going to wildly embrace, then the question becomes, how far will they go? I mean, Ford, will they continue to throw a lot of money in electric cars if nobody wants them?
Unless they're not going to give us a choice.
Well, and that's what it's beginning to feel like, isn't it? I mean, I think you're right about that, Chris. I think more and more people are going, I don't know. I don't really want an electric car, but it sounds like I might not have a choice. And certainly if the Biden administration has their way, you're not going to have much of a choice. It is 20 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let's talk about the folks over at DT McCall and Sons, 5 convenient locations in Middle Tennessee, a place where you can go for appliances, a place you can go for furniture, a place where you can go for mowers. Man, I love my zero-turn mower, my Cub Cadet mower that I got over at DT McCall's. In fact, if you walk through my house, you're going to find an awful lot of stuff. That came from DT, that came from DT McCall's, that came from DT McCall's, because it's a good company to do business with. Because they deal, honestly, they've been around more than 100 years, and you don't make it that long in the business world unless you have a reputation for treating people right, and I think that they do. And they're always going to be honest with you. Let's say, for example, you buy an appliance. You go some places and they'll tell you, well, here's how much it's going to cost you. And you say, well, that's a good price. Let's get that going. They say, well, okay, do you want it delivered? Well, of course you want it delivered. Do you want it set up? Yeah, of course you want it set up. Do you want the old thing hauled away? Yes. Well, that'll all be extra. Then you find out that price that they offered you was not such a good price after all. DT McCall, honest price. That includes the delivery setup and the haul away. 5 convenient locations. Find out more about all the things they can do for your home by going to their website, dtmccalls.com.
Franklin soccer coach update, a shooting at a South Nashville apartment complex. Plus, we'll have the latest money news. Those stories and more coming up 30 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, listen, we're doing the hits, the Biden administration hits today. We've had sound bites from Kamala Harris explaining the importance of AI. There's something about a human being with very little intelligence about her trying to describe something that is incredibly complex, such as artificial intelligence. She could use a little artificial intelligence because it just seems to me she doesn't have much on her own. Well, let's turn to another one of the Biden administration favorites. Reporting for duty is the what do you call him? Climate czar, John Kerry. He got his back up today. Somebody was asking him a question and said, we sure do like that you could get here. And I hope it wasn't too much trouble to fly your private jet here, Mr. Climate Czar, to answer a few questions. And he sort of got his back up about that.
I just don't agree with your facts, which began with the presentation of one of the most outrageously persistent lies that I hear, which is this private jet. We don't own a private jet. I don't own a private jet. I personally have never owned a private jet. And obviously, it's pretty stupid to talk about coming in a private jet from the State Department up here. It just, honestly, if that's where you want to go there.
I think John Kerry, first of all, I look at him and say, Mr. Climate Czar, why the long face? And then I just realized, well, that's he has a long face, which, by the way, is strangely immovable these days. Have you noticed that?
I haven't seen him.
Yeah, and when you look at him, I've always thought he's sort of an unusual looking guy. But I mean, when you look at it, it's like no muscle in his face moves. I mean, and the whole lower part of his face seems to be just like one sort of. The only thing that moves are just the lips a little bit. It's
too
bizarre.
much Botox.
Too much Botox. But let's just talk about the private jet. He says in this thing that I don't own a private jet. I've never owned a private jet.
Lies that I hear, which is this private jet. We don't own a private jet. I don't own a private jet. I personally have never owned a private jet. And obviously, it's pretty stupid.
Well, I mean, he says, I don't own a private jet. We've never owned a private jet. Well, that's just unadulterated, you know what? I mean, that's not true. Here is what we have been able to figure out. Kerry, who does not deny traveling on a private jet from time to time, was responding, by the way, to Representative Corey Mills, Republican of Florida. And here's what Fox News Digital found out. They reported that the Kerry family jet was a Gulfstream GIV-SP, made a total of 48 trips lasting more than 60 hours and emitted an estimated 325 metric tons of carbon since President Biden was sworn into office. A spokesperson for Kerry told Fox News Digital this year that the family sold the jet to a New York-based hedge fund during the summer of 2022. Kerry had previously defended his use of private jets. In 2019, he told Atlantic reporter, I can't even begin to pronounce this person's name, that he has to fly to meet with people and get things done, and that he's devoted his life to fighting climate change, and that he offsets his carbon consumption. Yeah, that's one of their favorite ones here. But there was a family jet, which belonged to Teresa, Mama T, Teresa Heinz. And the Heinz Corporation, the ketchup jet.
The ketchup jet.
She's the Heinz. She's the Heinz, the holder of the Heinz fortune.
The heiress.
The heiress, I guess it was. He's married. Remember, she was married to John Heinz, I think Pennsylvania Republican, if memory serves me correct. And then he got involved in a plane crash and died. Pretty dramatic events there. And it wasn't very, very long that John Kerry and Teresa Heinz started dating and got married. And she let me know that she likes to be called Mama T. But she had the money. And the name of the company that the jet belonged to was called Flying Squirrel LLC. Like Bullwinkle and Rocky the Flying Squirrel.
Okay.
Okay. For him to suggest that, well, we've never owned a jet. Okay, well, you are married to an heiress. Do we have to go through this every day? You're married to an heiress who had an LLC, and there was a jet available to you whenever you wanted to take one. There was a Gulfstream 4. So you can say you never owned a jet, yet maybe you didn't because you're a poor boy married to a rich woman, and she's got a jet that you have used. So, don't get all on your high horse there, John Kerry. 30 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
.430, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 93 degrees currently. We got some thunderstorms possible later tonight. Got a full forecast, plus the latest traffic report. We'll tell you all about it on the way in 5 minutes. Right now in Middle Tennessee, according to Fox 17, the Franklin soccer coach that was accused of drugging and raping children on video for over 20 years tried to recover his evidence-filled cell phone that he left at the restaurant the very next day. Employees told Camila Hurtado Campos that they didn't have it while they took pictures of his vehicle and contacted police. Officials identified Campos, and he admitted to knowing what the phone contained and that it was his. It was confirmed yesterday that Campos is not a legal United States citizen, and now the Department of Homeland Security is involved in the case. Some more crime in Tennessee. A shooting at the Avery Apartments in South Nashville last night ended a 21-year-old woman's life. Genesis Garcia was hit by a single shot while in the passenger seat of a vehicle. She died at the scene. Officials are investigating, but right now they believe 4 to 5 men were there when the shooting took place. Now over to some money news. Daria Albinger.
The entertainment world hit with its second strike. Union actors walking off the job starting at midnight. SAG-AFTRA's national board unanimously voted to issue a strike order against the studios and streamers after failure to work out a deal with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. Union writers have been on strike for 2.5 months already. On Wall Street, stocks ended higher today after the Labor Department reported that the Producer Price Index nudged higher in June. The Dow closed up 47 points, the Nasdaq gained 219 points, and the S&P 500 advanced 37 points. Now, the government factored in lower airfares when coming up with Wednesday's lower government inflation numbers, but Delta Airlines executives say they're not seeing the 8% drop in average airfares from May to June that the Labor Department reported. Delta President Glenn Haustein dismissed the Labor Department's methodology as, quote, a sample of a sample.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Let me tell you, if I could, about T. King Associates in Insurance in Brentwood, 25 years in the business. An independent agent advantage they bring to the table that will really be helpful to you. Small agency, and here's the thing, and that works to your advantage. To some, they're small enough that they're going to take great care with you as an individual customer. They're about to run through all of my stuff right now and try to find some better deals for me for sure. And I love the fact that I'm going to get a phone call, or I'm going to call this number, 615-329-8121, and I won't get like a recording machine or a tree phone. I'm going to get somebody who actually will answer my questions and start taking up my particular case. 615-329-8121. And I also love the fact that they're going to be looking at my insurance and saying, well, he's been doing insurance with this company for a while over here, but they're a big corporation. We can shop around and find the best deal, the best coverage for the best amount. In other words, the best bang for your insurance buck. That's what I want. I want efficiency. I want to save some money, and I still want great insurance. If that's you, you need to call this number, 615-329-8121, or just go to their website, tkinginsurance.com. That's tkinginsurance.com. King Insurance and Associates, royal treatment, and tremendous rates. um, you know, there are times when I feel like we try to bring you all the stuff that's happening in the swamp. We try to bring you things happening here locally. We talk about the local and hard news issues of the day, and we talk a lot about politics. But one of the things that I've always liked to add to the mix of stories that we talked about here on this program are stories that are relate to news you can actually use. I love that category of things. You know, a story that I find, you say, well, that's fascinating. And one of the things that we look for is something that everyone can identify. Everyone can identify with, you know, this particular thing. So I have one of those stories. And we're going to spend a few moments talking about mosquitoes.
Ugh.
I know. Is anybody in the world who, you know, I remember growing up, hey, you better go put you some stuff on, or you're going to let the skeeters are going to carry you away. Don't let the skeeters get you, Brian. Don't let the skeeters get you. Well, you know, we all were raised up with that, and we're in the South, and mosquitoes are a part of what we do. Skeeters. Why are some people mosquito magnets and others seem to be unbothered? And this is from the Epoch Times. It is written by a medical entomologist. But I wonder if the medical entomologist could give me some explanation as to why my home studio is full of gnats. Have you noticed the gnats that keep flying by me occasionally?
I have seen an occasional little buzz by.
I'm trying to. I don't know where they're coming from, and I'm afraid that in the middle of doing quality broadcasting, that I'm going to go.
Oh,
and it's going to be
yeah.
Have you ever had that happen where you
Yes, I
swallow a
have.
gnat and it's like, it's one thing if it happens to you and you're alone in your home. It's another thing if there are thousands and thousands of people listening to you on the radio and you swallow one doing a radio program. I've done that. Worst thing that ever happened, I swallowed a fly live on TV one time.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I was just doing it, and I took a deep breath, and it went right to the choke point. There's nothing worse. That was good television, though. Let me tell you.
Where's the tape?
Buried. Trust me. So if you're going to attend an outdoor party in warm weather without hearing people complain about mosquitoes, it's rare to attend a party without hearing them talk about mosquitoes. They swat them away. They sit in campfire smoke. They cover up with blankets. Many places you just give up and go inside. So here, as a medical entomologist, I think that's a bug person who's worked with mosquitoes for over 40 years. Now, what do you do? Well, I've worked with mosquitoes for over 40 years. That's pretty cool. I'm also asked why people seem to be mosquito magnets while others are oblivious to these blood-feeding pests buzzing around all. I mean, this was my mom. When I was growing up, we could be outside, playing around in the yard, and the mom and dad in the lawn chairs, and nobody having a real problem, but they would eat my mom alive. They would come after her in a big, big way, and we never could figure out why.
See, that's me. I'm a magnet for them. They love me.
You're a skeeter magnet, are you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I can understand that. Well, you look like, if I were a mosquito, I'd look at it and say, I go for that guy.
Just appetizing.
Yeah. Most mosquito species, along with other arthropods, include ticks, fleas, bedbugs, backflies, horseflies, biting midges. What is a biting midge? I don't know what that is. I don't want to know. They require protein in blood to develop a batch of eggs. Only the female mosquito feeds on blood, actually consumes it but otherwise it's just to develop a batch of eggs. Mosquitoes that are male will not bother you. Did you know that?
I did not. But it makes sense. That's usually how it is. The females are all the trouble. Yeah.
If males feed on plant nectar, which they convert to energy for flight. So here, if you check some of the things that a female mosquito is looking for, then you may be a mosquito magnet. What are they? Depending on when during the day they are active, mosquitoes use sight, sound, and olfactory, which is the sense of smell, to identify potential sources of blood. Most night-active species rely on olfactory or receptor cues. The most important chemical cue is the carbon dioxide that all vertebrates, including humans, release with each breath and through their skin. So if you're letting off a lot of CO2, then you're going to be attractive to mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are very sensitive to CO2, carbon dioxide, and a CO2 source that is many meters away. They can sense it. Receptor cells on the mosquito's antennae and legs bind CO2 molecules and send an electrical signal to the brain. When more molecules hit their receptors, the higher the CO2 concentration and the closer they are to the host. So they just sort of zoom in on the CO2. But, there are many non-living carbon dioxide sources, such as cars, boats, planes, trains, etc. So they have other things that they pick up on that help them separate a human being from the tailpipe of a car. So carbon monoxide production is the first mark of a mosquito magnet. Because the production of CO2 and secondary attractants is linked to a metabolic rate, the higher the metabolic rate, the more attractants are produced. Metabolic rate can genetically be determined, but also increases as the result of physical activity. So if you're cool and not sweaty, and your metabolic rate is slow, then you are not someone who would be attracted to a female mosquito. If you are active, warm, sweating, exercising, and throwing off a lot of CO2, then you're probably going to be something more of a target.
That makes sense because I'm a sweater.
You are?
Yes, I am.
Well, that's something I think I probably could have done not knowing.
I mean, not right now, but.
I mean, now you're cool, calm, and collected. Mosquitoes would look at you and go, nothing there. The mosquito magnets you spot at summer parties may have a genetically high metabolic rate and may be more physically active than other attendees. Okay. They may be also undertaking other activities that increase their metabolic rate, such as consumption of alcohol. Increased metabolic rate is why runners attract more mosquitoes during their cool-down stretching exercises. Pregnant women, perhaps due to their increased metabolic rate, attract a disproportionately large number of mosquitoes as well. Natural body odors are also important cues used by mosquitoes to select a host. There is one species of mosquito attracted to a specific component of foot odor.
I got nothing there.
Yeah, my feet are completely fine. The mosquitoes transmit human malaria and feed indoors in the middle of the night by feeding on a sleeping person's feet. That's how they keep your feet under the cover. That doesn't happen. Yeah, and everybody says, well, my feet get hot. Well, yeah, okay, so they're going to be hot or they're going to get eaten alive by mosquitoes. Mosquitoes active during the day and at dawn at dusk also use visual signals to identify a host. They usually fly close to the ground. From the vantage point, they view their potential host against the horizon. Dark colors stand out while light colors blend in. So the way a person is dressed will determine the number of mosquitoes they attract. Wearing lighter colors may not just help you keep you cool, but may help you evade a mosquito's notice. Now, right there, ladies and gentlemen, that was news you could use right there. You want to avoid mosquitoes, wear light colors. I mean, the things we bring you on this show. There's also a psychological component to mosquito activity. Some people do not notice mosquitoes around them. A single mosquito flying around, some people will elicit a strong response. You've probably seen someone go nuts trying to track down the droning sound of one mosquito in order to finish off the little bloodsucker. Other individuals are not bothered and do not notice the mosquitoes attracted to them, even when the insects are feeding on their blood. Feeding on your blood. Some mosquitoes specialize in feeding on parts of the body that are difficult to see and difficult to swat. I need no more information about that. Whether you are or are not a mosquito magnet, the bite feels just as itchy. Written by Jonathan Day, the emeritus professor of medical entomology at a place where they know a thing or two about skeeters, the University of Florida.
Indeed.
All right. So, and in the remaining time, this is not, I don't think, necessarily news that you can use, but since we've been talking about skeeters, which fall under the category of critter, and I love critter news, there is this story. I mean, it's sad and it's funny, but not. I mean, I don't mean to make light of somebody actually getting hurt because that happened here, but it's just when you read the story, you go, wow, that's a weird one. Giant rabid beaver attacks Georgia girl swimming in a lake. See, this is what happens when you go to Georgia. A rabid beaver bit a young girl while she was swimming in a northeast Georgia lake, according to one local news outlet. She was swimming off a private property at the north end of the lake near Gainesville, and the father beat the beaver to death. Wow, I would imagine. Come after my kid, that beaver's going to be toast. The beaver later tested positive for rabies at a state lab. That's really sad. I'm telling you, that whole thing that you have to go through with the rabies, I don't think it's as bad as it used to be, but it's still very bad. People attacked by rabid animals typically undergo a series of injections to prevent the disease from killing them. And, that's the thing. You've got to get the animal.
Well, that's true, yeah.
I mean, you get bit by a wild animal, somehow you've got to get that animal, or you go through it automatically. You go through the treatment. But if they determine that the animal was indeed rabid, then you have to take the shots. But they determined it was not rabid, just an animal that bit you. You may get to miss out on those painful shots. But apparently the girl's father said it was the biggest beaver I've ever seen in my life. 55 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a big beaver.
That's a big beaver.
Hopefully he saved the tail.
Yeah, yes. That'll be a story.
Yeah.
They turned it into a pork pie hat. And you say, what's that? Well, that's the beaver that nearly killed me. 50 minutes now past the hour, 4 o'clock on Super Talk.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. There was a recent study by J.D. Power looking at how happy investors were with their advisors, and it wasn't pretty. What they found was only 11% of the respondents said that they were getting comprehensive financial planning, that the fees were clear, and that they felt that the advisor was acting in their best interest. Not a good picture, 11%. Now, one of the things that we do is we do comprehensive planning. We fit all of those bills, number one. But one of the things I want to talk about is in the financial planning process, what I think it ought to look like and what is available that people aren't getting. And one of the things is called probability analysis. So in essence, this is what we're talking about. We're trying to accumulate money for retirement, put money aside, hoping that we'll have enough so that we can have income throughout retirement. And what we find is that people have Social Security, they have pensions in their financial plan, and they also have investments. Now, with their investments, we want to do something very specific that it really requires quite an academic background to do this. And this is where we look at the cost of capital of the various things that you own in your investment portfolio. It sounds scary, it sounds really detailed, but here's the idea. Is if we look at various asset classes like large stocks and small stocks and large value and bonds and so on and so forth, we know the expected return or the cost that these entities have to pay to use your money. So we can come up with an expected return of the portfolio. We can also come up with what's called standard deviation, or how much that portfolio return may deviate from the expected return. Now that's a whole other video, but what I want to do is show you how we use this. If I look at a financial plan and I say, well, you got this area, this area, this area, what I can do is I can say, well, based on when you want to retire, this is how much income you can take, and here's the likelihood of being able to have this income survive throughout your entire life. And the way it works is this. If I take a portfolio and I say, there's the expected return, I can look at history and say, well, the way your portfolio is designed, how might your one-year returns vary from the expected return, the long-term expected return? Well, what we know from academic research is that portfolios well designed and properly managed in ways that I can't get into right now, it's too complicated, portfolios actually close in an expected return, but we don't know what the short-term returns are going to be. So what we do is we project out and say, well, what if the return that happened in 1936 is followed by the return that happened in 1975, which is followed by the return in 1995, or what if it's reversed? What if they happen in different orders? And we can do 1,000 iterations, different variations on when those and how those returns may come in. And what that does is, because we can't predict the future, what return's going to follow the other, we can figure out, is it likely that we are going to be able to take the income that we need throughout retirement from this portfolio? And if not, how can we rearrange the furniture or the portfolio to give us a higher likelihood of success? And we look at life expectancies, we look at a lot of different things, but this is what is available to people that they're not getting from the financial planning community. If you want to know more, go to paulwinkler.com, set up a free 15-minute phone call, paulwinkler.com, and come in and find out more about what we do.
Some news from the special counsel overseeing former President Trump's trial concerning classified documents, an update on a disgraced former Franklin soccer coach, a fatal crash in Tennessee, and some deadly heat in California this week. Those stories and more coming up at 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey right here, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And so, when you go home today and you get to the house and you sit down and people say, well, how was your day? I don't know, but I learned a lot of things about skeeters today. I mean, number one, you wear light clothing.
Yeah.
You stay cool. Don't get sweaty. Don't exude a lot of CO2 if you can help it. And cover your feet because there are specialized mosquitoes that will come after the odors in your feet. Ugh. Cover your feet at night. Don't leave your feet exposed because the skeeters will get you.
And maybe wash those feet while you're at it. Come on.
Then maybe if you wash your feet, you don't have smelly feet.
That's right.
Then you won't have any skeeter
Good
problems.
grief.
We're all about helping you through the major problems of life here on this program. It's 58 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
It's 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. 93 degrees currently in Music City. Some thunderstorms possible tonight, but a low chance for severity. Complete weather forecast, latest traffic report upcoming in 5 minutes. The special counsel prosecuting former President Trump said today there's no reason to indefinitely delay his trial. Aaron Katersky has more.
Special counsel Jack Smith said there's no reason a federal judge in Florida needs to wait until after the 2024 election to put former President Trump on trial for mishandling classified material, as he requested. Trump, who has pleaded not guilty, said he cannot receive a fair trial until the election is over. But the special counsel said in a new court filing there is no basis in law or fact for proceeding in such an indeterminate and open-ended fashion. The special counsel suggested setting a trial date for December 11th, 4 months later than the date initially set by the judge.
Got an update on a disgraced former Franklin soccer coach. Fox 17 says that Camila Hurtado Campos tried to retrieve his cell phone from the pizza shop, knowing all of the terrible evidence that phone contained the next day. Employees said that they did not have the cell phone. Then they were able to capture a photo of his vehicle as he left. Officials eventually identified him. Campos later admitted to the phone being his and that he knew what was on it. It was confirmed yesterday that Campos is not a legal U.S. citizen, and the Department of Homeland Security is now involved in the case. And some new details have emerged on the near-fatal prison attack on a former doctor for USA Gymnastics who was convicted of sexually abusing young athletes. Here's Brian Clark.
More than 150 patients of former Dr. Larry Nassar said that he sexually abused them during treatment. Last week, Nassar was attacked in a federal prison in Florida. Sources familiar with the investigation say the attacker was set off as a group of inmates, including Nassar, were watching the Wimbledon Tennis Championships when Nassar said he wished there were girls playing. Later that day, the inmate allegedly stabbed Nassar at least 6 times in his cell before 4 other inmates pulled him off. Prison staff worked to save Nassar's life. He remains hospitalized in stable condition.
A fatal crash in Tennessee. Channel 4 says that one person was killed in a 2-vehicle crash. It happened at the intersection of Saundersville Ferry Road and Weeping Elm Road in Wilson County last night. It was a passenger inside of a white truck that died from a car hitting their vehicle. The crash is being investigated and charges are pending in the case. And the heat dome that's been sitting over the southern third of the U.S. is about to expand, encompassing most of California through the weekend. That state is getting ready, says Alex Stone in L.A.
With temperatures this weekend expected to be around 114 degrees in Fresno, 108 in Sacramento, and 106 in the valleys around L.A. Brian Ferguson at California's Office of Emergency Services says now it's dangerous to be without air conditioning. Earthquakes may be more dramatic, but heat is deadlier.
Extreme heat is a killer. More than any disaster we face, we see more fatalities from heat.
Around Phoenix, 12 deaths are being reported this year from heat, with 55 more deaths under investigation.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7, hour number 3 of the drive on this 13th day of July. Glad you're with us. Settle back, get settled into the car, get buckled up, and we'll get you home safely. And along the way, give you some of the major headlines of the day, some of the things that are going on in the world around you, and some assessment of the major political stories of the day. We'll start by going to La Casa Blanca. We're going to go to the White House, where apparently they have about to conclude their search for who is responsible for bringing cocaine to the White House. That's right. They've about wrapped up their investigation, and they, what was it? It was 2nd of July that they found the cocaine that we know about. So that's 11 days ago. So the worldwide resources of the Secret Service Uniform Division, which, by the way, is a pretty substantial law enforcement organization in its own right, and the FBI, because we heard yesterday from Christopher Wray that indeed the FBI's lab had been used to identify the cocaine, and you're going to be shocked, you're going to be stunned, and you're going to be amazed because they couldn't figure out where the cocaine came from.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
That's right. And are you shocked? Are you stunned? This doesn't make a bit of sense. The Secret Service announced Thursday it has closed its investigation into the cocaine found at the White House and is not able to single out a person of interest because they lack physical evidence. In a statement Thursday after briefing members of Congress on the matter, the Secret Service said the cocaine was found on July 2nd inside a receptacle used to temporarily store electronic and personal devices prior to entering the West Wing. Secret Service says it's been investigating how this item entered the White House, including a methodical review of security systems and protocols. The review included a backwards examination that spanned several days prior to the discovery of the substance and developed an index of several hundred individuals who may have accessed the area where the substance was found. The Secret Service said its investigators developed a pool of known persons for a comparison of forensic evidence gleaned from the FBI analysis of the substance's packaging. The Secret Service said it received the FBI's lab results on Wednesday and said the effort did not develop latent fingerprints. Really. They couldn't pull up a fingerprint on it, and they did not have sufficient DNA to try to decide who it was. And then even if they had the DNA, they had to go and figure out, well, whose DNA is it, which would mean potentially screening 500 individuals. Therefore, the Secret Service was not able to compare evidence against the known pool of individuals. But they did confirm it was indeed, as we all suspected, cocaine. Now, look, here's what I know. When I would go through the Northwest Gate, not this particular gate, not this particular entrance to the White House, you knew that everything was going to be examined. Your briefcase was going to be opened. Your laptop was going to you have to turn it on and show them that it worked. You had to make sure that everything that you brought in there was going to pass, scrutiny of the Secret Service. And a lot of people, have gone through that process over the years, and that's where I always went in, and that's what I always went. But the West door on West Executive Drive, generally they talk about how there are tours that come through there, and I guess that's probably true. Not the regular White House tour, if they still do that. I don't know if they do or not, but it's not a regular White House tour. But let's say you got some big dog Democrats are in town and you want to show them around a little bit and do a little dog and pony show. They might potentially come through that door and not through the regular Northwest Gate. But it's your generals, your military brass, employees, people who are going to the Situation Room, which, by the way, is apparently under repair at the moment or being expanded or doing something. So they say not a lot of that activity. But you're talking about high-ranking people who probably are not going to have their briefcase searched when they come through. Still, you got to put your phone, you got to put it up, and then you drop it in the little thing, and they can't figure out who it is. They got cameras. They got dogs. There is always a 24-hour, round-the-clock dog team available at the White House. I can't tell you the number of stuff I've had, dogs go through and sniff all my stuff. I mean, in the briefcase. I'm telling, and so a lot of times, sometimes people will like bring a sandwich to work and put it in their briefcase. The dogs always find the sandwich. But I mean, I'm telling you, it's always available 24/7. You know who is having a little trouble absorbing all this? Well, a lot of members of Congress. But I thought this was a particularly great interview done by Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who says, I just don't buy that we can't get an answer to this question. And then he deftly moves off of the topic slightly and brings it round full circle. Listen to this.
If they can't tell us first where the cocaine was even located, they gave us 3 different locations. You know this location, right by a Situation Room. Very few people get to go around there. But if they can't tell us who brought it, what else is happening in the White House they can't tell us about? What else is coming into the White House they can't tell me about? That even concerns me more now, because the discussions we have in that building, the places that are situations that are being discussed and actually decided upon in that building, people are walking in with cocaine, putting in cubby holes, and you turn around to the American public and say, you don't know when you have all the security in the world? That is a concern that I have greatly. When the Hunter Biden laptop came public, what did the Biden Inc. family do? They used soon-to-be our Secretary of State to go out, call people who have been CIA directors, call people all in the intel community to sign a letter to tell the American public it was false, when they personally knew it was true. So it just shows when it comes to the Biden Inc. family, they are treated different than every other American family. Think about this. If you've done something wrong on your taxes, the IRS comes after you. If you're part of the Biden family, they wait 6 years so the statute of limitation goes away and you can take money from Ukraine. You can take money from China and you won't be found guilty. America is tired of this 2-tier system of justice, but it always seems to fall when it comes to the Bidens. They get special treatment, even down to using Department of Justice, using our Intel Committee, to pretty much lie to Americans. Americans need to know that their White House is safe and secure. You can't turn the other cheek and simply say, oh, now we don't know where it is when we have dogs, we have cameras, we're supposed to protect the president 24/7, and we can't tell you?
I think it's a beautiful thing for he just did there, because he took it to the wider argument. This is another example of where it seems that, people are bending over backwards to protect the Biden family. It is not an improper question to ask, given the fact that we have the son of a president who has a history of cocaine abuse, to raise questions about this. I'm not sure that you can make the case that this came from Hunter Biden, and he apparently was not there when this was discovered. Who knows? All I'm going to say is, can you imagine that if Donald Trump were still the president of the United States, and you had cocaine found in a major entrance to the White House, that this matter would be buttoned up in 11 days flat with an explanation as, well, they're never going to be able to figure out who this cocaine belonged to. Do you believe that would happen? Do you think that the press corps would allow that to go happen and continue to go forward? No, they would be raising unmitigated hell, and the investigation would be outstanding, and it would be a cloud that would be over the White House forever. No, but in the Biden White House, 11 days now, there's nothing. Yeah, sorry, I know that we're a world-renowned investigative body over here at the Secret Service. We have the amazing technology and facial recognition software, and we know everybody who goes in, and we know everybody who goes out, and we got cameras pointed everywhere, and we got drug-sniffing dogs that are everywhere. And I know that, but we're just not smart enough to figure it out. Gosh, wish we could have come up with an answer for you, but we can't. FBI, we'll confirm that it's cocaine, but, we don't have any ability to track down who the cocaine might have belonged to. I just am having a real difficult time accepting this as an answer, and I think a lot of people are as well. Here is an interesting little thing from justthenews.com about this. Lauren Boebert went to this briefing and says, Republican Representative Lauren Boebert said after a Secret Service briefing Thursday, that was today, on the cocaine found July 2nd at the White House, that drugs have been found 2 other times since last year in the building. How does this happen? How have we not heard about it? The Colorado lawmaker also confirmed that Secret Service officials said the briefing, the agency won't likely find a suspect for the cocaine, and the probe will conclude on Friday. A list of more than 500 individuals. They looked into their backgrounds for prior drug records, and nothing was determined from their analysis. And the Secret Service is very eager to close this within the next couple of days. Cocaine reportedly found in a cubby near the White House West Executive entrance weighed less than a gram, so it was a small amount. Republican Representative Nancy Mace, who, like Boebert, is a member of the House Oversight Committee, attended the briefing. She confirmed with Just the News that investigations will close on Friday without a suspect. The cocaine caper is going to be concluded without any outcome. No suspects, no resolution, the South Carolina lawmaker said after the briefing, which is frustrating because every time there's something unsavory happening on the president, the White House administration, we never get an answer. And it's just ironic and interesting and frustrating. Boebert said the drugs found twice before in roughly the past year was marijuana, and she thinks that the Secret Service closed the investigation without a suspect there because everything in this administration is about covering up for the Biden crime family. 3rd time, she says, drugs have been found in the White House property since 2022, and we did not even hear about the marijuana. I certainly did not hear about the marijuana that was found in 2022 2 times, and now there's cocaine on the property. So everything they do is to move along the next story. They know there will be another Biden crime crisis. Look, I am losing. I've lost. It's been some time since I had any faith in the institutions of government. But you would think that in one of the most important and most secure buildings in the world, a building where the most delicate secrets are maintained, a building where they discuss the most delicate foreign policy matters that you can imagine. Secrets are held here. And to find out that somebody comes into the building and deposits cocaine into a cubbyhole and they can't track it down is very concerning. And what if it wasn't cocaine? What if it was a small amount of anthrax? I mean, that would be a national security concern. They really, honestly, I don't buy the fact that they can't figure this out. I think that they can figure it out, and they realize that if we do figure it out, we're going to be raising a lot of eyebrows, and a lot of people are going to start sweating, and we really don't need a lot of high-ranking people who are upset because we're probing around to find out if they're cocaine addicts. Anyway, there it is. No answers. And as Gomer would say,
surprise, surprise, surprise.
It's 20 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk. Wellness Institute of Nashville, great company. They can help you with your pain. Just start with a phone call, 615-246-5009. Listen, I've talked to you a lot of times about things I've done over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. I've gone through this non-surgical spinal decompression. Pretty impressive procedure. I've gone through 24 treatments. It helped me a lot. If you have pain in your back, your legs, your arms, your neck, your legs, a tingling in your extremities, these things could well be made better through the application of the non-surgical spinal decompression therapy. Now, over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville, Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley Mitchell want to offer up the first of their kind KT machine. It's like spinal decompression, but it's aimed at your knee. It elongates the knee and joint and allows meniscus and cartilage to heal without the need for surgery or painkillers. Just take advantage of their 2023 special. You get an exam, a consultation, x-rays if needed. Bring in an MRI if you got one. That's okay. Dr. Mitchell will go over your condition. Your custom healing recovery plan will then be discounted by 20, make that 50%. 50%. And it's only $23 for that first appointment for new patients. 615-246-5009. Again, 615-246-5009. Learn more about all the things they can do for you at the Wellness Institute of Nashville by checking this website, painisbad.com.
The Secret Service closing their investigation into who brought cocaine to the White House. 3 people in custody after a murder in Tennessee, and an actor's strike now imminent. I'll have details all at 5:30. I'm Mac Maury here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, it is 25 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7, talking about some things happening in the swamp. Yesterday, Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, was involved in a day-long hearing in which he really got grilled on a whole bunch of stuff. Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, said he did not find many of the things that Wray had to say. He did not find them to be particularly credible.
He's not credible with the answer, and I think his whole testimony shows the FBI is actually broken under his leadership. And I'm not talking about the rank and file agents who are doing their job every day. Thank you for the work you're doing. But the bureaucracy is broken. Because remember what Wray said even in his testimony here. He wouldn't answer questions. He didn't tell us why the FBI went after Catholics. mistakes. He wouldn't apologize when the FBI went after parents. He wouldn't tell us or apologize for using companies to spy and their data to spy on average Americans. But what's even more importantly, when he knew he had a 1023, a person that he actually still pays to this day an informant, that provided him information about the Biden Inc. family, he ignored it. And he didn't pass it on to the IRS that was looking into it. So no, he has not been equal justice. And so he does not have the trust of the American public. And that's bad because his agency is a great agency that has to protect America. And the bureaucracy now he's created has broken the system.
It's broken the system. And, you know, they're trying to build something that many people say the new FBI headquarters that the FBI would like to have would be something akin to the size of the Pentagon. The largest building, I think, one of the largest buildings in America. And they want to build something in that size. And I'm actually more persuaded that that's the absolute wrong thing to do, to centralize the power of the FBI in a major new facility somewhere in the Washington, D.C. area. To me, it seems like if the idea is to fight crime and or evil across the country, then why don't we decentralize the FBI? Why don't we move it into and have maybe have it be somewhere else in the middle of the country. Maybe you have it in another state other than, right around the Washington, D.C. area. And to put the power of the FBI in the regional bureaus, a series of regional bureaus, and outside of Washington, it seems like there are some good people at the FBI. There are a lot of good people at the FBI who want to conduct investigations and who want to enforce the law and are absolutely patriotic human beings. But boy, the management seems to have lost its way, and to centralize more power in Washington, D.C. with the FBI, I think, a huge mistake. There is another thing that I want to talk about that's on the horizon, and it involves one of our local legislators, or someone who represents a part of the Middle Tennessee area, Congressman Mark Green. House Homeland Security Committee Chairman Mark Green set to release a lengthy report detailing his initial findings of a probe into the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas that details he believes that he broke the law. This according to an interview that Green conducted with the Daily Caller Foundation. Green launched a probe into Mayorkas on June 14th, with the initial phase focusing on the DHS Secretary's alleged dereliction of duty. Green says that more than 100 pages of findings from the first phase of his ongoing probe will be released within the next couple of months. The list of everything we've learned so far is in phase 1. The dereliction of duty phase will be published here very shortly. In fact, I'm proofing the final document, around 111 pages. But laws have been violated in some cases, and we believe Mayorkas has broken the law himself. Again, Green speaking to the Daily Caller News Foundation. Green cited several instances where he believes Mayorkas has committed intentional and willful dereliction of duty. We await that report. 30 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7.
It's 30 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. 92 degrees right now. Some possible thunderstorms to come here this evening. Complete weather forecast, latest traffic report on the way in 5 minutes. Starting in the nation's capital, the Secret Service say they don't know who's responsible for the cocaine found earlier this month in the White House. They've closed their investigation now. Members of the House Oversight Committee got a closed-door briefing today. They say the Secret Service narrowed it down to around 500 potential suspects. That's made up of White House staff and visitors. Investigators say, quote, there was no surveillance video that was found that provided any leads. Republican Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett found that hard to believe.
I mean, I'm sure they have facial identification, everything else. And to say that they don't know who it is, to me, somebody should lose their job over this.
He called this, quote, the most ridiculous thing he has seen in his life. Here in Tennessee, 3 people in custody on charges related to the murder of a 22-year-old Murfreesboro woman. Maya Fuller went missing in July of last year. Her remains were found in a wooded area about a week later in Wilson County. Sheriff Robert Ryan told a news conference today the arrests came after tireless work on behalf of several law enforcement agencies, including Metro Nashville Police.
The family deserves closure, and we will continue to do everything within our power to make sure that justice prevails in this case.
Sheriff Ryan asked that anyone who has information about the case to call it in, but he said they have the 3 people responsible. Fuller's mother and father were at the press conference, but did not speak. And in entertainment news, the final vote unanimous. An actors' strike officially starts at midnight. Here's Jason Nathanson.
SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher says now is the time to stand up to the greedy studios.
We're not going to take this anymore. You people are crazy.
She and union leadership officially announced a strike Thursday, saying actors are working under an old contract that doesn't reflect reality anymore.
The entire business model has been changed by streaming, digital, AI.
The two sides seem very far apart. The studio said in a statement their deal included big raises and more.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
All right, how are you faring in this rough and tumble market? The experts at Beacon Capital Management understand it can be a little scary, but here's the thing. Beacon Capital Management has a plan to assess where you are and then help you make the mid-course corrections. This could be just a small tweak that puts you right where you need to be. Wouldn't it be great to have that peace of mind that you're on the right path? Beacon can provide you that reassurance. It starts with a simple phone call, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon will take it from there. I mean, what do you have to lose except for your worry? So get started today. At the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing you have a plan that meets your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence that you're on the right path. That you have the T's crossed and the I's dotted. Again, the number, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away, and you can learn more at askbeaconnow.com. Well, let's call it 38 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson, this is The Drive, driving you home, give you some information you can use. Been a couple of days since we brought you up to date on the ongoing Biden family syndicate investigation, and there are developments. Here we go. Next week, the House Oversight Committee will hold a hearing where are you ready for this? 2 Internal Revenue Service whistleblowers will testify before Congress on matters relating to the Biden family financial dealings and the politicization and misconduct within federal agencies with regards into Hunter Biden. This from the Epoch Times. Gary Shapley, an IRS supervisory special agent, revealed himself as one of the whistleblowers in May. The other witness, thus far only known as Whistleblower X, is a criminal investigator with the IRS. The hearing is open to the public and the press will be live streamed online. Both of the whistleblowers have provided documents showing the investigations into the Biden family had been stymied in some way. Committee Chairman James Comer on Wednesday called this an opportunity to give the American people transparency and accountability. Now, here's one thing. It's going to be a live hearing. The Republicans will be in charge of the committee hearing, and Comer is the chairman and the chief. But, I mean, it's going to be one line of questioning by Republicans and then another line of questioning by the Democrats. And nobody's going to have a lot of time to sort of get to the bottom of this. The most important thing that they could do, it seems to me, is to allow these witnesses to give long, detailed, lengthy statements to the public before the question and answer session begins, so that you can lay out the things that you want to say before you start getting back into this back and forth nya stuff that just devolves into a bunch of sound and fury, which signifies nothing. But what you're going to see is after that, you're going to see the Republican asking a good series of questions about why were you stymied in your investigation into the Hunter Biden matter? What were you told? Where are the documents? I mean, we got a lot of stuff here to go through. And apparently this is all going to happen next week. And then the Democrats will do everything they can to destroy. And this will be interesting to see how they handle this. Are they going to go after the whistleblowers and suggest that they are lying? I don't think that would be a wise course of action. But they're going to do their best to try to raise questions and to throw rocks at and impugn the reputation of these 2 whistleblowers who, by all accounts, are not particularly political people, just people who wanted to go do their job and felt like time and time and time again, every time they started getting close to some kind of Biden revelation or some kind of Biden indictment and information was coming in, they were told simply, no, we can't do that. Both of the whistleblowers have provided documents showing the investigation into the Biden family has been stymied. Since taking the gavel in January, the Committee on Oversight and Accountability has made rapid progress, says Comer, in our investigation into the Biden family domestic and international business dealings to determine whether these activities compromise national security and President Joe Biden's ability to lead with impartiality. I think a very strong case can be made that there's evidence out there that he has been compromised and he is not impartial and he did things for money. He did this for that. Thank goodness that the American people gave us a Republican-controlled Congress so that somebody could start asking the questions that needed to be asked here. Somebody could start trying to get to the answers on things. Because, when the Democrats were in control of the House and the Senate and the White House, they had absolutely no interest whatsoever of looking into these things at all. And if the Justice Department and the IRS and the DOJ had no interest in looking, then nobody was going to be looking. I mean, I'm telling you, it's so infuriating that what they did here in this particular case is they kicked the can down the road. They kicked the can down the road until you got to the point where the statute of limitations on what could have been some pretty substantial charges against Hunter Biden expired. They just expired. You can no longer bring those charges. Now, Hunter Biden's going before a judge before long, and he's supposed to give him a little slap on the wrist, and that's going to be all the end of that. And then you go, the other cases, well, we just couldn't bring them because the statute of limitations ran out. That's a pretty weak excuse. I think the American people are going to be furious. I don't think a lot of American people understand why some of the more serious charges are not being brought. And it's simply because they played the game for time. And every time that the special prosecutor wanted to try to do something, we are told, we'll get more on this at the hearing, then they was told, well, we can't really do that. Well, no, we don't really have the authority to do that. Now, we've asked for this, we've asked for that. No, we can't do that. No. Somebody always came up with a reason not to do something. So I want to know who's responsible. I want these IRS and DOJ and investigators to lay it on the line, to name names. Who said no? Who's responsible for kicking the can down the road to the point where you can't bring a case anymore? Here's from the Washington Examiner. House Republicans may soon release more evidence of alleged influence peddling involving the Biden family and their business associates, adding to the findings they've uncovered for the past several months. Oversight Committee chairman and members are sifting through a new bunch of bank records. See, it takes a while to get these bank records related to the complicated web of accounts, companies, and business partners that Hunter Biden, the president's brother James Biden, and other members of the Biden family used to collect millions of dollars from foreign entities starting when Joe Biden was vice president. While congressional investigators have not compiled all of their latest findings, the bank records could shed more light on the payments from Chinese, Ukrainian, Romanian, and other foreign companies that close Biden associates collected and then doled out to the Biden family in smaller increments. And I'll add to this, pushing the money through a series of LLC shell corporations to make it look like some kind of syndicate, that they were hiding money. They were passing the money along and trying to hide the way that they did it. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer last week teased disturbing findings in the Biden case that his committees would release as soon as this week, although that timeline is likely to be pushed back just a little. John Robinson, Rob Walker, James Gilliard, Devon Archer are three of the Biden associates likely to face even more scrutiny from congressional investigators as they focus on these new bank records. I'm very interested to find out what Comer is coming up with. This stuff is not easy. And in fact, there's one email in which they brag about, well, don't worry about it. If we send you that money, we'll find ways to cover it up, and we'll run it through a bunch of shell corporations, and it will take years for them to figure out, what has happened. And as you know, if you push it enough down the line, years and years and years, well, then you no longer have a case. You have the statute of limitations kicked in. Some of that is what's happened. Some of it was that nobody wanted to look. Comer is doing a great job. He's doing a fantastic job in trying to get to the core of this stuff in a very fast way. It's not easy lifting, but having someone who has the subpoena power, the ability to go out there and ask the questions, demand bank records, demand certain people come in and answer questions before them, to send out those subpoenas, is the game changer here. And I hear you, and I look, I'm sort of right there with you. Brian, how many times it's like Lucy pulling the football away from Charlie Brown? How many times do you think we're going to get there, we're going to get there, we're going to get there, and then we don't get there? Something happens at the last minute and it all falls apart. All I can tell you, and I think you need to listen to me carefully here, all I can tell you is, in this particular case, there's something different than has happened before. There's something going on that's very different from what has happened in the past. And that is, we have people who are actually asking the right questions with the authority to do an investigation and to ask for bank records. And if you get the bank records, it's complex. It takes a little while to go through. You've got to be, really good at doing that kinds of forensic examination of the bank records. But there are people out there who can do that, and the Republicans have them on the committee, and they're starting to find a few things. Will it be done in a time where, you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt? I don't know. But I know this. Questions are being asked that had not been asked before. Investigations are being conducted that were not being conducted before. And now we're starting to get down to the point where I think Comer is getting really, really, really close. We'll continue to watch it. We'll see what happens. So Hunter Biden, and we'll get more information from the IRS whistleblowers, and that will happen. And then they continue to go through and look through all kinds of information. By the way, the president of the United States is on his way back, I guess, from a meeting, the NATO meeting, and apparently got a little snarky, I'm told. You get a meeting with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. You're sitting there, and they come in for the photo op. They take the pictures of the photo op. Blah 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 blah. Here's some pictures. Here's some pictures. Mr. President, look this way. Mr. President, look this way. And then generally at the end of it, they say, "Thank you very much. Please leave the room." But the reporters then try not to leave the room. And the President of the United States, who has recently been said to have a history of swearing at his staff, was very sarcastic and very snarky about the questions that were being asked. I don't know. I think the guy understands that they're breathing down his neck, and there's one way if you want the press corps to behave itself to some degree, and I'm not sure that's the job of the press corps to behave itself. I think it's their job to not behave themselves many times. But how can you expect there to be any kind of decorum around the President of the United States when you won't answer any questions, that you run away from the cameras and you run away? It's the job of reporters to ask questions of those in power. That is their job. And you completely stymie the ability to do that, then you're going to have bad behavior every single time that the reporters get in the same room with the President of the United States. I think they know that. I think they think that the American people look at them and say, what a bunch of jackals. But the fact of the matter is, the reason that you see this behavior is because they are doing everything they can to keep information away from you and not put the President of the United States in a position where he actually has to answer questions.
Give me a break.
Yeah, you know what he's going to just start doing? He's going to start doing this.
Hush up, boy.
Hush up, boy. It is now 50 minutes past the hour, 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let's talk about the Nashville Armory Ranges, 2 locations for your convenience. The first one is at Nashville Armory, is at 4290 Kenilwood Drive in Nashville. Just over 15,000 square feet, which combines retail, classrooms, pistol, rifle-rated ranges. So you can learn, become proficient, and stay that way. The second location is the Franklin Range at 390 South Winds Drive, where you'll find 10 state-of-the-art shooting ranges equipped with automated target control, custom shooting stalls that provide a virtual private shooting experience. And the folks who work there, well, they pride themselves on hiring folks with the expertise to advise even the most experienced shooters. But they also have the patience to guide those who are new to the 2A world. If you're new to the 2A world, go there, because you're not going to find a bunch of attitude. You're not going to find a bunch of pressure. Just people who want to help you and educate you. Gunsmithing back at the Nashville Range. If you're buying your first gun or adding to the collection, you'll find a wide selection of new and pre-owned firearms, suppressors, optics, apparel, shooting accessories, place to buy, place to train, a place to become a really good shot. To learn more, go to armoryranges.com. That's armoryranges.com, and tell them that your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. There was a recent study by J.D. Power looking at how happy investors were with their advisors, and it wasn't pretty. What they found was only 11% of the respondents said that they were getting comprehensive financial planning, that the fees were clear, and that they felt that the advisor was acting in their best interest. Not a good picture, 11%. Now, one of the things that we do is we do comprehensive planning. We fit all of those bills, number one. But one of the things I want to talk about is in the financial planning process, what I think it ought to look like and what is available that people aren't getting. And one of the things is called probability analysis. So in essence, this is what we're talking about. We're trying to accumulate money for retirement, put money aside, hoping that we'll have enough so that we can have income throughout retirement. And what we find is that people have Social Security, they have pensions in their financial plan, and they also have investments. Now, with their investments, we want to do something very specific that it really requires quite an academic background to do this. And this is where we look at the cost of capital of the various things that you own in your investment portfolio. It sounds scary, it sounds really detailed, but here's the idea. Is if we look at various asset classes like large stocks and small stocks and large value and bonds and so on and so forth, we know the expected return or the cost that these entities have to pay to use your money. So we can come up with an expected return of the portfolio. We can also come up with what's called standard deviation, or how much that portfolio return may deviate from the expected return. Now that's a whole other video, but what I want to do is show you how we use this. If I look at a financial plan and I say, well, you got this area, this area, this area, what I can do is I can say, well, based on when you want to retire, this is how much income you can take, and here's the likelihood of being able to have this income survive throughout your entire life. And the way it works is this. If I take a portfolio and I say, there's the expected return, I can look at history and say, well, the way your portfolio is designed, how might your one-year returns vary from the expected return, the long-term expected return? Well, what we know from academic research is that portfolios well designed and properly managed in ways that I can't get into right now, it's too complicated, portfolios actually close in an expected return, but we don't know what the short-term returns are going to be. So what we do is we project out and say, well, what if the return that happened in 1936 is followed by the return that happened in 1975, which is followed by the return in 1995, or what if it's reversed? What if they happen in different orders? And we can do 1,000 iterations, different variations on when those and how those returns may come in. And what that does is, because we can't predict the future, what return is going to follow the other, we can figure out, is it likely that we are going to be able to take the income that we need throughout retirement from this portfolio? And if not, how can we rearrange the furniture or the portfolio to give us a higher likelihood of success? And we look at life expectancies, we look at a lot of different things, but this is what is available to people that they're not getting from the financial planning community. If you want to know more, go to paulwinkler.com, set up a free 15-minute phone call, paulwinkler.com, and come in and find out more about what we do.
It is 6 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 93 degrees right now and a sunny day. Some thunderstorms expected to come this evening. Forecast latest traffic report upcoming in 5 minutes. Breaking news from Channel 4. 138-year-old man and a 17-year-old boy have been arrested after allegedly posting KKK flyers around Columbia. Officials say that both suspects were charged with civil rights intimidation. Columbia police released a statement saying, quote, "The Columbia Police Department will continue to work diligently on this incident to determine if these individuals acted alone or if more offenders are involved." And now going over to the nation's capital, the Secret Service say they don't know who's responsible for the cocaine that was found early this month at the White House. They've closed their investigation. Members of the House Oversight Committee got a closed-door briefing today, and they say the Secret Service narrowed it down to 500 potential suspects made up of White House staff and visitors. Republican Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett finds it hard to believe.
The most ridiculous thing, I mean, it's indicative of this entire administration, though. I mean, nobody gets to the bottom of anything. They just laugh at Congress. They laugh at the American people and the Secret Service.
And he went on to say that, quote, "Somebody should lose their job over this." And staying in the nation's capital, Hunter Biden's attorney has demanded Donald Trump stop stirring up hatred towards his client, which could send Trump supporters out to attack him. Andy Fields.
Hunter Biden's attorney sending Donald Trump a cease and desist letter saying the former president is inspiring violence and could end up harming President Biden's son. He cited examples of Mr. Trump's language he claims incited the January 6th attacks on the Capitol, injury to former Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband, and a man arrested near former President Obama's home with an arsenal of weapons. Hunter Biden's attorney saying, quote, "We are one Trump social media message away from another incident."
And data is in from Amazon Prime Day, and all online shopping consumers spent around $13 billion over the 2 days, according to new data that came in. Alex Stone.
It wasn't only Amazon. Its Prime Days prompted many other big retailers to offer sales. Adobe Analytics says on Wednesday, sales were driven by appliances, housekeeping supplies, electronics, and clothing. Interestingly, curbside pickup were offered accounted for 20% of online orders, showing the staying power that consumers like driving up, having the items retrieved for them and brought to their car. Smartphones accounted for 45% of online sales compared to 42% last year.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7, the fourth and final hour on this Thursday, the 13th day of July. Thank you for listening to The Drive. I'm Brian Wilson, your friend and radio buddy. Let's delve right into another exciting hour. Get you home safely, give you something to talk about with the family to sit down with dinner. And we love to, from time to time, just stop and take a moment for what I call probably one of the most entertaining segments that we do, Deep Thoughts by Kamala Harris. Ladies and gentlemen, the Vice President of the United States trying to explain to the American people and an audience at large, a woman with very little actual natural intelligence trying to explain artificial intelligence.
And I think the first part of this issue that should be articulated is AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence.
So wait, hold on a minute. Now that is a revelation, that it's sort of a fancy thing, and it's really AI is 2 letters, AI, which stands for artificial intelligence. So they're, first of all, very deep. I'm sorry, the button didn't work.
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence. But ultimately what it is it's about machine learning.
Machine learning.
And so the machine is taught. And part of the issue here is what information is going into the machine that will then determine, and we can predict then, if we think about what information is going in, what then will be produced in terms of decisions and opinions that may be made through that process.
All right, and thus concludes Deep Thoughts by Kamala Harris on artificial intelligence. It seems like I can understand why she'd be interested in it, because she has no natural intelligence. Maybe she's looking to see if that artificial intelligence will help her. Yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath. I mean, she's the gift that just keeps on giving. I mean, sometimes I defy people to try to diagram any sentence that she has written.
So I think it's very important, as you have heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present. And to be able to contextualize it, to understand where we exist in the history and in the moment as it relates not only to the past, but the future.
Did you get that? I don't know. It's a struggle every time. It really is. Well, and look, this really points out what the big problem for Democrats are right now. You got a president of the United States who trips and falls and looks like he can barely, drag a canvas beach chair across and he's fallen off a bicycle. He's fallen down the stairs of Air Force One. He's fallen on a stage at the Air Force Academy. And every single time he gets in front of the camera, and there are a couple more examples of it from his most recent trip, where he just simply says things that are backwards or scrambled. And so, look at him and say, well, that doesn't inspire a great deal of confidence. It's a good thing we got a vice president. Oh, wait. That's what they come to. They look and they say, Kamala Harris, really? Honestly? Let's just look at a few things that have come out about Kamala Harris as of late. According to NBC News on Monday, Vice President Harris has the dubious distinction of having the lowest net negative rating of modern vice presidents in the history of polling. In the history of NBC News' polling, they have never encountered a vice president that had lower numbers than does Kamala Harris. According to the NBC News poll, only 32% of registered voters have positive views. 32% have positive views compared to 49% with negative views, including 39% with very negative views. That leaves Harris with a net minus 17 rating, which is the lowest for any vice president in the history of NBC News polling. Harris's minus 17 net rating lined up against, let's see, Mike Pence. He was underwater by 4. Joe Biden was above water by 1. Dick Cheney was above water by 23 points. Al Gore, in March of 1995, was above water by 15 points. Harris simply does not meet the standard of what we expect as a vice president. She is looked at as being, well, just a little dumb. And I don't mean that to be, well, no, I do. She looked at him, most people say she's not very smart. And it's because of this word salad stuff that we always hear about. All this word salad stuff. I mean, and she occasionally has that laugh, which just, I think, stands on a lot of people's last nerve. Hey, Chris, do you have the Kamala Harris laugh there at, because I'm telling you. What do people see in her? I mean, how did Democrats? I mean, honestly, it's not my job to look out for Democrats, but I just look at them and say, how in the world did they end up with this? A president who is too old and too feeble and missing a beat, cognitively deficient in every way, falling and fumbling all over the world and international stages. And then you got the vice president who is looked at as about probably one of the densest politicians to come down the pike in some time. Not looked at as someone that inspires a great deal of confidence. And yet this is the team they're going to go forward with in re-election efforts. See, I look at this and I go, look, it's pretty simple to me. I don't know a lot about how this thing is going to play out. I don't know how the Republican thing is going to play out completely. I don't know how the Democrat thing is going to play, except that I'm pretty sure Joe Biden will not be the nominee. Because I think the Democrats are going to look around and realize, oh my goodness, he is faltering and fumbling, and it's so bad, and nobody has any confidence in Kamala. We've tried to rehabilitate her. We just can't do anything with her. So, I think they're going to come to the conclusion that if they go forward with Joe Biden and Kamala, they're going to lose, and they don't want to lose. And so I think they will find a way, engineer a way, come up with something that allows them to bring in some other folks. And there seems to be a couple of people who are standing by in the wings, most notably Gavin Newsom. So I don't know how they will do it, but I just honestly don't believe at the end of the day Democrats nominate Joe Biden for re-election. I don't. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't imagine that they're going to allow that to happen because, I mean, what if you get down to the last days of the election and Joe Biden does that really, really inexcusably dumb thing? Do you want to put all your eggs in that basket if you're a Democrat? That's why I think that they'll have to come up with another answer. Twitter users are slamming Kamala Harris for her big area of concern right now. I mean, well, let's talk about some of the things she's been handed. I mean, she's been given some real opportunities here to go down and try to solve the border crisis, which she just did. She didn't even want to go. She didn't want to deal with it. She wanted to stay far away from that as she possibly could, and she really never did anything. I mean, you look at the border crisis and you say, now there was an opportunity to show some leadership, to come up with some ideas, to try to solve the real problems down on the border, and she didn't want to have anything of it. And literally, she basically went to the border for all of, 3 minutes? But she has strong feelings about other issues, and she wants to make sure you know them, and she puts them out on Twitter. Vice President Kamala Harris, according to FoxNews.com, is getting roasted for putting an emphasis on the, I don't know. This may be one of the burning issues of the day, but I don't think so. The inequity of airplane restrooms. Questioning why that issue is a priority for the vice president while the southern border remains in dire condition and prices continue to soar with inflation. Here's what she said. Here's what the vice president of the United States said on Tuesday. The majority of domestic flights do not have accessible restrooms. This is absolutely unacceptable. Our administration will soon announce a solution to help end this inequity. All right, now, I think we can all agree that airline bathrooms are not the greatest things in the world. I mean, you got to be in a little bit, for me personally, I've really got to be in a jam before I go into a mid-flight bathroom and use the bathroom on an airplane. I mean, first of all, I can't even stand up in a bathroom. Honestly, I can't. I can't even turn around. It's like there's just enough room for me to squeeze in. And then if I'm standing, I got to stand with my head way back because, the fuselage comes back and I'm 6'4". Now, again, it's bad, I admit. But is this the thing you want your vice president going to the mat on? The comment section was filled with laughs and confusion over Harris's suggestion, with numerous users sounding the alarm that the potential remodeling of most American aircraft would spike domestic flight prices nationwide. We're going to fix the bathrooms, by God, but your tickets are going to be $1,000 more each time you go somewhere. So when seating capacity is diminished, do you plan to deploy the government to solve the pricing problem? I mean, the only real way you can solve a bathroom issue is to give the bathrooms more room. You take away a seat, though, and now you've got to recoup that income. I don't like it. I wish there was something. You want to really do something? To me, forget about the bathrooms on airplanes. Talk about legroom. Give me some legroom. Give me an inch of legroom. Now, Kamala, you give me a little legroom, then I might actually be on board with you on this. Listen, a lot of people were just mocking her because she believes the most important thing that she can focus on right now, the burning issue of our day, and I'm not saying it's not an issue, I'm just saying it's not the burning issue of our day, is what can we do about bathrooms on airplanes? I can assure you that on her airplane, Air Force Two, she's got an ample bathroom. On Air Force One, they have a bathroom and a shower. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yep. I've been on Air Force One. I got a tour one time, and it's like sort of a motorcycle seat that you strap into, and then you turn on all the faucets.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, she's got no problem. I guess she's trying to reach out and sort of connect with the average human being who has to go out and fly commercial. I think, maybe I would have a little bit of, how should I put this? I would have a little bit of hope that she might actually be on the right track if she would just get on a commercial air flight sometime. Fly here or there, the way the rest of us have to fly. Boy, once you become a big dog with your own jet, you forget what it was like to fly. But Kamala Harris, don't worry, she's on the bathroom issues. Next time you get on a flight and you feel like the bathrooms are too small, remember, you've got a vice president just looking out for you. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Eurofix has a very different business philosophy. They staff all their locations with more than the average auto repair shop, just so they'll be ready when your emergency pops up out of nowhere. Have you ever noticed how hard it can be to get a right now appointment for vehicle repair? Some dealers can be more than 2 weeks out just to get an appointment, but not at Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without dealer pricing since 1999. Plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car now. If you're tired of waiting forever to get your car into a shop, just call the folks at Eurofix. Owner Aaron Stokes says, "We will never be too busy for our customers. We are here to take their pain away and take it away now." Eurofix repairs all European cars, and Eurofix says yes to speedy repair when others cannot or will not. Family owned for 24 years. Call 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com and tell them that your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
People who allegedly posted KKK flyers arrested. Cocaine investigation in the White House over, and we'll also have that closing money news report. That and more coming up, 6:30, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. Thank you very much, Mac Morey. Greatly appreciate that. Talking about AI, as Kamala Harris was just a short while ago. Remember, she says
AI is kind of a fancy thing. It's, first of all, it's 2 letters. It means artificial intelligence.
That's all you really need to know, I guess, to get started on that conversation.
Wait, so AI is 2 letters?
It's 2 letters. AI.
Wow. Gotcha.
The A stands for artificial, and the I stands for intelligence.
Oh, now you've lost me.
I know. It's a little complex. But she needs, look, she doesn't have much natural intelligence, so she needs the assistance, I guess, of artificial intelligence to function. I don't know. But there is a lot of news today, strangely enough, about artificial intelligence. Now, we on this program have played with artificial intelligence, and we've interviewed artificial intelligence. We had it write an essay for us about the Civil War, and that was 500 words that it spit out in about 20 seconds. It's astonishing, and it was pretty good. I mean, if you turn that in as a college essay, that's probably a B+ or an A-. It was well written. Punctuation,
probably a little too good, actually.
Yeah, actually, to be honest with you, right. Yeah. If I were going to turn it in, I would mess up some of the punctuation before I turned it in. No, but you really shouldn't use it for that. But I'm telling you, it is astonishing at the things it can do. And we've interviewed it. We've asked it questions. We asked it to tell us a funny story. We had it write us a joke about an aardvark. We've done it. We have played around with it, and I must say, when you walk away with some of this stuff like Chat GPT, it's impressive. I have it on my phone, and I occasionally, use it. I'll tell you how I use it. When I'm thinking about a big controversial issue of the day, I sometimes say, I know what my thoughts are, but I'm wondering what are the other ways you could look at this, because maybe there's a thought pattern that you haven't really explored, or that there's something there you think, if I dig into this, maybe I'll get into some stuff that'll be helpful for me, just sort of to think of the way in a bigger way. But I also found that sometimes when you do that, the information you get is wrong. I mean, it's dead wrong. And so now comes word that ChatGPT is under investigation by the Federal Trade Commission, investigating whether OpenAI's ChatGPT has harmed people by publishing false information, posing a potential legal threat to the popular app that can generate eerily human-like content using artificial intelligence. They're going to look at. I mean, the thing is, I have a friend who's a reporter, and he basically one day went out and said, write a story about me, or write a bio about me, and gave him his name. And then the person was an accomplished reporter, so there was material out there about the individual. And it was shocking how much of the information was 1,000% wrong, not even close. And so the real question that apparently the Federal Trade Commission have is, well, what if you use ChatGPT to publish a product, and it goes out there, and it somehow impugns someone's reputation? Well, then you have a lawsuit, but who do you sue? And so that's apparently now what this Federal Trade Commission is going to be looking at. It is a situation when you talk about computers of any kind, and certainly about artificial intelligence. It's GIGO. It's the old thing that you talk about with regard to computers. GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. Or if you got good stuff in, then you get good stuff out. Computers are only, of course, as good as the information that you put into them to begin these kinds of queries. And there's a real question about, well, how do you vet all of the information that might be absorbed by an artificial intelligence piece of software? Now comes this, Associated Press. The Associated Press said Thursday it has reached a deal with ChatGPT maker OpenAI to license AP's archive of news stories to help train the artificial intelligence company's systems. Under the arrangement, OpenAI licensing will be part of AP's text archive, while AP will leverage OpenAI's technology and product expertise. AP said in a joint statement with OpenAI. So, look, I mean, this is one of the real weaknesses of where it is right now. It doesn't have a connection to the active internet. Most of these chat GPTs. In other words, they say, well, we have fed into a gigantic computer a lot of information for this software to draw from. But it doesn't have what happened yesterday. And it doesn't happen what happened the day before. And it doesn't have a very accurate historical archive maybe to draw from. And the Associated Press, say what you will, I have some real concerns about the Associated Press from time to time as being an organization that provides accurate information in a reliable, unbiased way. But the vast majority of what AP does is like meat and potatoes: who, what, when, where, and why. Okay, just the basics. I could see where this would be helpful. Then comes word very quickly that Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX and owner of Twitter, is back in the artificial intelligence game, announcing the debut of a new artificial intelligence company called xAI. He was in it before. He started the whole thing and then got out of it. And now some questions are being raised about whether or not some of these AI projects are going to be, how's the word I want to use? Are they going to be woke? Are they going to be slanted? Or are they going to be biased? And it seems like he has brought in some really top-notch people from some of the top AE companies to try to start that whole process anew. So it's called xAI, and we'll see. I think we're going to have about 10 or 15 different versions of AI, and it's going to be like, your search engines. You're going to pick the one that you like best. 31 minutes now past the hour, 6 o'clock.
.31, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. 91 degrees, and we've got some storms possible later this evening. Forecast latest traffic report coming up in 5 minutes. This just in Tennessee, one 38-year-old man and a 17-year-old boy have been arrested after allegedly posting KKK flyers around Columbia. Officials say that both suspects were charged with civil rights intimidation. Columbia police released a statement saying, quote, We'll continue to work diligently on this incident to determine if these individuals acted alone or if more offenders are involved. We'll also continue to work closely with our community and make efforts to deter senseless acts such as this from occurring in Columbia, end quote. Over to the nation's capital, where the Secret Service says they don't know who's responsible for the cocaine found earlier this month, the White House. They've closed their investigation now. Members of the House Oversight Committee got a closed-door briefing today. The Secret Service say they narrowed it down to 500 potential suspects made up of White House staff and visitors, and Republican Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett finds it hard to believe.
The most ridiculous thing, I mean, it's indicative of this entire administration, though. I mean, nobody gets to the bottom of anything. They just laugh at Congress. They laugh at the American people and Secret Service.
And he went on to say that, quote, somebody should lose their job over this, end quote. Now, taking a trip to Wall Street for some money news. Dave Packer.
The entertainment world hit with its second strike. Union actors walking off the job starting at midnight. SAG-AFTRA's national board unanimously voted to issue a strike order against the studios and streamers after failure to work out a deal with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. Union writers have been on strike for 2.5 months already. On Wall Street, stocks ended higher today after the Labor Department reported that the Producer Price Index nudged higher in June. The Dow closed up 47 points. The Nasdaq gained 219 points. And the S&P 500 advanced 37 points. Now, the government factored in lower airfares when coming up with Wednesday's lower government inflation numbers, but Delta Airlines executives say they're not seeing the 8% drop in average airfares from May to June that the Labor Department reported. Delta President Glenn Haustein dismissed the Labor Department's methodology as, quote, a sample of a sample.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Grace Point Healthcare delivers medicine affordably with a menu-style, transparent pricing, so you know how much it costs before the care is delivered. I mean, isn't that interesting? Think about that. Wouldn't that be helpful to know what you're in for up front? They have Smart Care plans, $69 a month. You get unlimited office visits, free basic labs for the entire year because they treat the entire family, even newborns. They can offer family plans as well. In conjunction with a highly deductible insurance plan that you may have, this could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They see you the same or next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms. You can treat naturally wherever possible, and they are a military vet-owned practice. Just some of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider by Toast of Music City year after year after year. Now, one thing they want to remind you is that you are in the middle of a seasonal allergies. This is the time of year where, the hay fever really gets to be a problem. Grace Point offers allergy testing and treatment so you can enjoy the outdoors and not be stuck indoors. Grace Point Healthcare, Main Street in Franklin. Call this number, 599-6868. That's 599-6868 to schedule a visit. It is 39 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Last little segment of things that we can talk about before we hand it over to Mark Levin, the great one, after the news here at the top of the hour. Thank you for listening to The Drive. Greatly appreciate it. Want to remind you, just a programming note is that we'll be debuting our brand new 9 to noon talent, our new host for the 9 to noon hour here on Super Talk 99.7, and that will be, his name is Chris Hand, good guy, and I think you're going to like him, and he starts, right after the Nashville Morning News ends on Monday. So there you go. And then we're going to go have that Korean barbecue thing, and he's going to be our special guest. I mean, He'll be part of the family, but because it's the first time you've had a chance to meet him, a great opportunity to come out and meet him. Family guy. Seems he got, 4 kids?
4 young kids, yeah.
Yeah, young kids. I mean, and so, glad to have him on board. I think Chris Hand, as I've joked, is going to make a good hand. And I think you're going to like him. So, I hope that you'll tune in next Monday and give him a listen and see what you have to think about him. We understand that people who listen to this radio station have very strong opinions about the hosts. We hear about it all the time. You got to have thick skin to be in talk radio, let me tell you that for sure. And generally we feel like we have a very warm relationship with our audience, and we hear the things that you say and we read the things that you say. It doesn't go unnoticed. We want you to know we care deeply about the thoughts. But I think that, if I may, just for a moment, I don't think people really understand to some degree about the business of talk radio and what's important and what's not. And I think that Chris is going to make a great person to slide into the 9 to noon. He's going to be able to produce great information and great opinions and be, the kind of person that you really want to listen to. And I think we've made a good decision here. So, I know it's not going to be the decision that everyone wanted. Get that, acknowledge that, but I think you're going to be well pleased with what happens as you get to know this young man. The big news, you heard it in the newscast just a few moments ago. And I'm telling you, I'm glad to see this. Again, remember, nobody is guilty until proven guilty in a court of law. But 2 suspects who police say targeted African-American churches in Murray County Sunday night by posting KKK flyers were apparently arrested this afternoon late. The Columbia Police Department said a 38-year-old man and a 17-year-old man were arrested around 4:30 p.m., charged with civil rights intimidation. The charges were placed in coordination with the district attorney's office and the official statute. Police investigators are continuing to work on the case, attempting to determine if more offenders are involved in the posting of the biased rhetoric flyers that have been described by the Columbia Police Department. The arrest came as a result of working with members of the community who help identify the suspects. When I see these stories, there's 2 things that I have. First of all, I go reprehensible. Absolutely, this is not what we are. In America today, it's not what we are in Middle Tennessee today. It's certainly not what the community of Columbia is all about. It's certainly in Murray County. It's just not, that is not representative of what we are. And I think it's outrageous. There are times when I have seen, and this is something, you see these things, you go, really? That doesn't quite add up. It doesn't feel right. And then you find out it's some kind of false flag operation, that it's just meant to stir the racial animosity. In this particular case, if the evidence that they have presented to us is everything that they represent that it is, it looks like this was an egregious case. And I commend the police department there for getting some great video, for getting right to the bottom of this thing. And the video, I think, is the thing that helped break open the case. It's under investigation. 2 people arrested, maybe more on the way. Great work by the Columbia Police Department on this very tragic story. Let me get through a few other things that I want to talk about today. And I think I want to mention this again. I'm going to be reaching out to Mark Green, Congressman Mark Green, because he's, as you know, the House Homeland Security Committee chairman. And he is getting ready, he says, to release a lengthy report detailing his initial findings of his probe into the Department of Homeland Security, specifically Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, that details the way that Green believes Mayorkas has broken the law. Speaking to the Daily Caller News Foundation, Green launched a probe into Mayorkas on June 14th, with the initial phase focusing on the DHS Secretary's alleged dereliction of duty. Green says the more than 100 pages of findings from the first phase of his ongoing probe will be released within the next couple of weeks. Now, this is going to be good. A list of everything we've learned so far, says Green, is in phase 1, what he calls the dereliction of duty phase, will be published very shortly. In fact, I'm proofing the final document, which is like 111 pages, but laws that have been violated. In some cases, we believe Mayorkas has broken the law himself. I think this probably is in advance of an attempt to impeach Mayorkas. And I think you can make a pretty strong case that this is an individual who came in and said, we're going to secure the border, and then did everything he could to not secure the border. I think the outcome that you're seeing on the border is exactly the outcome that the Biden administration wants to happen. They want to see the chaos on the border. They want people coming across into this country. It's very clear from listening to the comments of the president. He has no problem with all of this. But the law requires fidelity. In other words, you know, when you take the oath of office to become the Secretary of Homeland Security and the President of the United States, you are supposed to make an oath that you're going to faithfully execute the laws of the country. And they are not faithfully executing. And it's so damaging to the morale of all the people at the Border Patrol and the people at ICE who are dedicated to trying to make sure that our country is safe. There is going to be a price that will be paid. And I hope that I'm wrong, but I don't think that I am. So many people who have come across the border are not just, you know, poor Mexicans or poor Central Americans who are trying to get into this country for a better way of life. I mean, some of them are, and there's no doubt about that. But a great number of people who've come into this country are coming here not, I think, with not their best intents in mind. We know that a great number of people who are on the terrorist watch list have been captured, making us wonder how many people got through that didn't get captured. And why are people from China coming in? Why are people from European countries coming in? Well, you know, these are great questions. And I think that the thing that we're going to find in the long run, sooner or later, this is all going to blow back. Things are going to start happening in this country, and there will be things that will be carried out by the people who don't have our best interests at hopes. You know, we've seen that happen on 9/11. And it's going to be because they came in through the border that was wide open because of the chaos that was sown by Mayorkas and by Biden with regard to border policy. So I am anxious. I'll be reaching out to Congressman Green because I definitely want to get a jump on this particular story. I think it's one of the big stories of the years. And there will be apparently, before the Homeland Security Commission, there will be a testimony. This is from a second story from the Daily Caller, that a former Immigration and Customs Enforcement official will testify. And that may have happened today. We'll find out. Former ICE Field Director John Fabricatori served on more than 2 decades of the federal government, now an advisory board. He will apparently testify to the things he saw. So that will be pretty interesting to watch. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time on it like we did earlier, but I think it's worth noting that according to CNBC, they've done an assessment of 10 states that are running the best economies for residents around the country. Number 10 is Delaware. Number 9 is Indiana. Number 8 is Idaho. Number 7 is South Carolina. Number 6 is Utah. Number 5, ladies and gentlemen, number 5 on your hit list of great economies is the volunteer state of Tennessee, the nation's second fastest growing economy last year, led by durable goods manufacturing. Job growth in 2022, 4.3% statewide. I'm sorry, that's GDP growth, 4.3%. Job growth was 4.1%. One out of their economic score, 360 is a perfect score. Tennessee came in at 295, which that's pretty good. It shows that a lot of people in the state of Tennessee are getting it done, and we have to point out that the reason that this happens is because there are these the fact that we are managed politically by elected officials who are conservative, who come out with a conservative viewpoint with regard to spending, and it pays off. So there you have it. Tennessee coming in at number 5. Number 4 was Georgia, and number 3 was North Carolina, and then number 2 was Texas. Wow, job growth 4.8%. almost 5% in the state of Texas last year. But the number one, I don't think anybody's going to be surprised by this, the Sunshine State of Florida. It is now 50 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Well, listen, have you awakened some morning and you found out that your air conditioning just quite isn't up to the task anymore? It's not getting the job done? Well, why don't you just pick the phone and call this number, 615-775-7833, and the folks at Busy Bee will buzz over to your hive, and they will make sure that they get you up and running as soon as they possibly can. Now, it may be an easy fix. Maybe they'll give you all of the options. You have to also consider the possibility that these systems are not meant to last forever. Usually a life of around 20 years would be a good outcome, and it may be time to replace it. And if you're going through that process, well, then you're not going to find a better place to turn for that kind of stuff for HVAC or plumbing replacement systems than to go to Busy Bee HVAC. You'll get 3 thorough maintenance services if you join the Beehive Club for as little as $99. You get a look at your three different examinations of your systems, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing. No overtime charges 24/7, 10% off all repairs. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your official Rude Pro partner. Here's the number again, 615-775-7833, online at busybeehvac.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. There was a recent study by J.D. Power looking at how happy investors were with their advisors, and it wasn't pretty. What they found was only 11% of the respondents said that they were getting comprehensive financial planning, that the fees were clear, and that they felt that the advisor was acting in their best interest. Not a good picture, 11%. Now, one of the things that we do is we do comprehensive planning. We fit all of those bills, number one. But one of the things I want to talk about is in the financial planning process, what I think it ought to look like and what is available that people aren't getting. And one of the things is called probability analysis. So in essence, this is what we're talking about. We're trying to accumulate money for retirement. Put money aside, hoping that we'll have enough so that we can have income throughout retirement. And what we find is that people have Social Security, they have pensions in their financial plan, and they also have investments. Now, with their investments, we want to do something very specific that it really requires quite an academic background to do this. And this is where we look at the cost of capital of the various things that you own in your investment portfolio. It sounds scary, it sounds really detailed, but here's the idea. Is if we look at various asset classes like large stocks and small stocks and large value and bonds and so on and so forth, we know the expected return or the cost that these entities have to pay to use your money. So we can come up with an expected return of the portfolio. We can also come up with what's called standard deviation, or how much that portfolio return may deviate from the expected return. Now that's a whole other video, but what I want to do is show you how we use this. If I look at a financial plan and I say, well, you got this area, this area, this area, what I can do is I can say, well, based on when you want to retire, this is how much income you can take, and here's the likelihood of being able to have this income survive throughout your entire life. And the way it works is this. If I take a portfolio and I say, there's the expected return, I can look at history and say, well, the way your portfolio is designed, how might your one-year returns vary from the expected return, the long-term expected return? Well, what we know from academic research is that portfolios well designed and properly managed in ways that I can't get into right now, it's too complicated, portfolios actually close in an expected return, but we don't know what the short-term returns are going to be. So what we do is we project out and say, well, what if the return that happened in 1936 is followed by the return that happened in 1975, which is followed by the return in 1995, or what if it's reversed? What if they happen in different orders? And we can do 1,000 iterations, different variations on when those and how those returns may come in. And what that does is, because we can't predict the future, what return is going to follow the other, we can figure out Is it likely that we are going to be able to take the income that we need throughout retirement from this portfolio? And if not, how can we rearrange the furniture or the portfolio to give us a higher likelihood of success? And we look at life expectancies, we look at a lot of different things, but this is what is available to people that they're not getting from the financial planning community. If you want to know more, go to paulwinkler.com, set up a free 15-minute phone call, paulwinkler.com, and come in and find out more about what we do.